Hi, welcome back, guys. This is your friend, the DN WhatIf, with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Deku, Spiderpunk, and Bowsette were friends. All credits for this video go to their respective authors, so please support the real author. Check out the link in the description for more details. Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. In an elementary school in Japan. Class, we have a new transfer student from the Bowsette, the elementary teacher.
Everyone in the classroom began to whisper amongst themselves. A young dark green-haired boy with freckles felt that he getting poked in the arm and sees a light blonde-haired little girl with light blue eyes, horns on the side of her head, a turtle shell, and a small reptile tail was poking him with a pencil.
What do you think the UK is like? The girl asks. The boy was about to answer until the teacher waved her hand and a young dark-skinned boy with long black hair came in wearing a red shirt and black shorts. He noticeably had earrings in his ear and seemed a bit nervous.
Everyone, this is Elijah Hendricks, said the teacher.
Elijah said nervously.
After class, everyone went outside to the playground. Elijah was sitting by himself watching everyone until he saw a girl and a boy walked up to him.
"I like your earrings," the girl said with a smile, showing her small fangs, which shocked the boy.
"Why, yes," said the boy, very nervously. "Is he all right?" Elijah asks. "He's fine. He was just nervous to come over here and talk to you." "My name is Bowsette Kappa, and he's Izuku Midoriya. Let's be friends," she said, putting her hand out. Just as he was about to shake her hand, they saw a group of kids messing with someone. Izuku then went over there and got in the middle, shielding the kid. "What are you bullying him, Kaken?" Izuku asks, shaking in fear. The leader of the group was a boy with short, spiky, sandy blonde hair with choppy bangs that hung over his eyebrows, sharp, bright red eyes, wearing a dark blue shirt, red shorts, and black sneakers. "What are you going to do about it, Quickless? You gonna ask Reptile Girl to come help you?" He smirks, putting a finger on his head. The other boys begin to laugh at him as kept poking Izuku's head. Bowsette was about to head over there until she sees 3 of the boys fall to the ground. This caught the attention of Izuku and Kaken. "What just happened, MPH?" the boy began to say, but then had his mouth covered by a web. "You shouldn't bully people," said Elijah, appearing behind Izuku. This freaked out Kaken, who then ran away, leaving his friends on the ground. The boy then sighed, then turned around to see an awestruck Izuku. "That was amazing. What kind of quirk was that? Are they okay? Were you able to shoot Izuku, give him a minute." "Sorry about that. What you did was amazing," said Bowsette. "Thanks. My quirk is a combination of my mom's spider abilities and my dad's electric abilities," he explains. "So cool," said Izuku.
The 3 kids would spend the rest of their day together until the bell ranged. They would all go outside, waiting for their parents.
So your mom is from Japan and your dad is from the UK, Izuku asks.
"Yeah, we moved because of my older brother," he explains.
"Your brother gets to be a hero, like All Might. That's what I'm going to be someday," said Izuku.
Same here. I want to be the #1 hero, said Bowsette, grinning.
"That makes all 3 of us because I want to be a hero, like my uncle," said Elijah.
Izuku then put his hand out in them to raise an eyebrow. But then he says, "Then when we get older, let's all be heroes," which made the both of them smile and put their hands on his.
"Wait, what about Jackie?" Bowsette asks. "I forgot about her," said Izuku, shocked at the realization, which made Elijah laugh. "I take it this Jackie girl also wants to be a hero?" he asks. "Yeah, she's a year older and kind of weird, but she's cool," said Bowsette. Elijah said in an unfamiliar voice. "Mummy," he said, turning around, as did Izuku and Bowsette. Bowsette and Izuku were shocked when they saw a young woman with short lavender hair that covered the right side of her face, had 6 pupilless monochromatic red eyes, and sharp pointed teeth. That wasn't what they were surprised about. She had a giant spider body connected to her with a skull design on the back. She was wearing a white button-up shirt and a black skirt. "What?" Elijah asks both of them.
She might be bigger than Papa's. She's very pretty, said Bowsette cautiously.
"We'll see you tomorrow, Elijah," said Izuku.
Elijah will walk home hand in hand with his mom.
"How'd your first day go, sweetie?" she asked. "Pretty good. I made some new friends," he said with a smile. 10 years later. "Come on, guys, it's over here," said Izuku with 2 people following behind him. The first one behind him was Elijah, who was now 14, had dreadlocks with lavender tips at the end, 3 piercings on both ears, a slim muscular build, and wearing a plain black uniform with yellow buttons, wearing red sneakers. The second person was Bowsette, who had grown taller than Izuku, but not taller than Elijah. Noticeably, her tail and shell had grown bigger. Her hair had gotten longer to where she put it in a ponytail, blue earrings, and developed quite a slender figure for a girl her age. She was wearing a spiked choker around her neck, had a different uniform on, but with a skirt and black leggings with brown knee-length boots. "Izuku, we really should leave. I's gotta head to my school," said Bowsette. "I want to see how this villain attack will be handled," said Izuku. "Awa, come on, Bo. What's the worst that could?" "All of our parents get a call from the schools and are grounded," said Bowsette. "Hey, live a little. Being ground." "Look," Izuku pointed. They arrive at the area where a giant villain that almost looks like a shark-human hybrid screams in rage, trying to scare people away. "Just need to get through here," said Izuku, squeezing his way into the crowd. "Excuse us, just need to get through here," said Elijah with Bowsette following. The three of them made it through the crowd, seeing that they were held back by Backdraft and Death Arm, making sure no debris hit any of the civilians while hearing about the villain stealing a purse and have grown big when he was cornered. They didn't see a hero enter the scene ready to stop the villain. A bunch of girls swooned when they saw who it was. "Look, it's Kamui Wood. We're your biggest fan," the girls shout. "He looks so cool," said Bowsette in awe. "He's all right," said Elijah nonchalantly. Kamui Wood is a young man with a rather muscular build, wearing a wooden mask covering his whole face with holes for eyes, a dark blue bodysuit that includes a wooden belt, wooden knee pads, and wooden shoes. "Get away from me or I'll break you, toothpick." The giant criminal yells and tries to smack the hero away, but he easily dodges with his wooden arms. "He may be new, but he's making a big name for himself," said Izuku excitedly. "One look at that dopey grin and I know what you are." "A fanboy," said a man with 3 stars around his bald head. "Sort of," he said, somewhat embarrassed. Kamui Wood jumps to dodge the giant villain's hand and runs up the arm to throw an extending wood arm to the face, only to grab onto the villain's other arm and throw him around. The hero quickly detached himself from the villain and landed on a train cart. Assault, robbery, and illegal use of powers during rush hour traffic. "You are the incarnation of evil," he declared and extended his arm into the wooden branches. "Izuku, isn't that his Finishi?" "Come on, Tree Man, show us something flashy," the star-headed man shouts.
Primitive binding. Lacquered chain prison.
Kamui shouts, unleashing his special move to trap the villain, but suddenly. "Canyon Cannon," said a giant woman who entered the scene with a flying kick, knocking the giant down and off the train track.
Everyone was very surprised by the sudden appearance of another hero unexpectedly, and took down the villain that Kamui was about to.
"Money shot, money shot, money shot," set up a bunch of fanboys who started taking pictures of the giant woman's figure. "What a bunch of dorks, good thing you guys aren't." Bowsette then turns and looks irritatedly at Elijah, who had a camera out taking multiple pictures as Izuku laughs nervously. "Piece of cake for the world's next hottest hero." "Hi there, everyone. I'm MT Lady, and you don't have to worry about this bum anymore," she said, winking, and the fanboys took more pictures along with Elijah. Bowsette puffed her cheeks, crossed her arms under her chest, and looked the other way to see Izuku writing in his book. MT Lady is a curvaceous young woman who has purple eyes with white pupils and elegantly long eyelashes. She has prolonged, voluminous, creamy blonde hair reaching down to her waist with 2 shorter strands curled to her face, parted slightly to her right. Her superhero costume is a purple and pale tan-colored skin-type bodysuit, which is accented with orange stripes. The suit appears to have a pair of purple gloves with orange accents on the edge of the cuff, with the design being similar to her boots, which cut off at the thigh in a deep V shape. It also had 3 peculiar orange diamond-shaped dots on the purple top that are located under her chest, and also wears a purple domino mask with horn-like protrusion on the side. "The show-off just basically stole the spotlight," said Bowsette.
I don't mind if she stole my spotlight, hee, said Elijah.
Bowsette tries to hit him with her tail, but he is able to dodge immediately. "You're lucky. You have that tingle," said Bowsette. "You're still going to call it that?" "Just call it a spider sense," said Elijah, who then noticed as everyone was gone except them and the old man. "Gigantification, huh? Well, she's definitely got the looks and attitude to be a crowd favorite, and her quirk is really showy but still kind of hard for her to get around much in the city without damaging lots of things. That means she has to be careful," Izuku muttered while writing in his notebook.
"Well, at least someone got something out of this," Bowsette smiled.
"Make that 2, said Elijah, waving his camera around until Bowsette knocked it out of his hand with her tail. "My camera," said Elijah, checking on it, which luckily is okay. "What's that, fanboy? You taking notes over there?" the starhead man asks. "That's right, Izuku is the smartest guy I know, writing down everything he can and analyzing them to help him in the future," Elijah said, snapping his finger. "Oh, so does that mean you 3 want to be heroes?" he asks. Izuku looks away from his notebook and turns to smile at the man. Yes, more than anything, 3 of us have the same exact dream, he answers, honestly, which makes the other 2 smile. Elijah then looks at his watch and realizes they only had 11 minutes to make it to their middle school and quickly grabs Izuku and bows, then hoists them over their shoulder, which makes her blush and catches him by surprise. Hate to cut this short, but we got to run. Bo, I'll drop you off halfway, said Elijah, taking off with both in hand. Good luck, kids, said the old man, giving them a thumbs up. Later at Alder Junior High. So, as third-year students, it's time you start thinking seriously about your future and what you want to do with your lives. I could pass out some career aptitude test, but why bother? The homeroom teacher chuckled and tossed the papers in the air. I know you all want to go to the hero track. The homeroom teacher smiled and most of the students showed off their quirks. Elijah rolled his eyes while looking into his phone until he noticed Izuku shielding himself. Yes, you have some impressive quirks, but no power usage allowed in school. Get a hold of yourself or it's detention, the homeroom teacher scolded. Hey, teach, a boy called out. And here it goes, Elijah thought. I'm the real deal, but these guys will be lucky to end up as sidekicks to some busted D-lister Katsuki mocks, which causes most of his classmates to yell at him angrily. Huh, you've got impressive test results. Maybe you'll get the UA High, the homeroom teacher said, shocking the students as they all know UA High is a great national school with an acceptance rate of 1%. That's exactly why it's the only place worthy of me, Katsuki said and stood on his desk. I really don't want to hear his rant. Blah blah blah, I'm the best. Blah 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 blah, no one's on the same league as me, blah blah. He's been off his rocker since we were kids, Elijah thought to himself. Oh yeah, Hendrix and Midoriya want to go to UA too, right? The teacher recalled, shocking everyone that they wanted to go, mainly the one without a quirk. That's right, and before any of you say, don't you need a quirk? UA got rid of that rule years ago so he could be the first to. Elijah was interrupted by Katsuki attacking Izuku's desk, which irritates him and bowsed. Listen up, Deku. Even worse than these damn pathetic rejects, you quirkless wannabe. You think they let someone like you and when they can have me? Katsuki asks, but then sees Elijah stand up with electricity sparking around him. Let go of him or you're going to go night-night, Elijah smirked as ready to his hands. Hendrix, Bakugo. I said no power usage, do you want detention? The teacher asks. Later that day.
Izuku and Elijah were just hanging out until Elijah felt the buzzing in his pocket and sees that it's a video call from Baus dancers showing her in front of her school gate.
There's my boys, said Baus, grinning from ear to ear. PFFT, we are not her boy. Yes, we are, said Elijah, patting Izuku on his back. Yeah, we are, said Izuku, agreeing.
So, what do you guys want to do today? Maybe hit an arcade? Faust asks.
Don't you have to head home and watch Junior? Elijah asks. Arg, that's right, tell me we can do something on Saturday. Hang on a minute, there's a guy in my way, she said, putting the phone in her bag, but the guys were able to see.
Why in such a rush, Kupaheim? He asks with a smile to irritate her.
Izuku, another guy is about to ask out Baust, said Elijah.
Uh-oh, said Izuku, watching alongside him. How about you and I go to a karaoke bar and… Sorry, I have plans, said Baust, who tried to move past, but he refused to move. Getting in her way, said Elijah. Was staring at her chest, Izuku adds, and was getting her way twice. This bloke might want to quit, Elijah whispers. All I'm saying is,
If you don't get out of my way in the next 3 seconds.
I'll use my fire breath to roast your nuts. 3, 2. Okay, he said, moving out of the way. Smart choice, she said, walking away. Least he didn't end up like that last guy, Izuku sighed in relief. That day we learned that she can, in fact, go inside of her shell and launch herself, said Elijah. I'm sorry you guys had to hear that, she said with a worried expression on her face. No worries here, you reject every guy as entertaining, said Elijah. I have to go, but I'll call you guys later, she said, hanging up the phone.
Izuku then goes to his phone and sees a bunch of reports on today's incident and begins to write it down in his notebook until Katsuki Bakugo takes it.
Don't you have to be a dick somewhere else, Elijah asks.
Shut up. I don't know what you think you're doing, Deku, but we're not done, said Katsuki.
Was that you got? His diary? One of his friends asks mockingly.
Oi, give him back his notebook. Now Elijah demands only for Katsuki to burn it, then toss it out the window.
That's so mean, said a devastated Izuku. Most first-string heroes show potential early on. People look at them and just know they're destined for greatness. I'm going to be the only student from this garbage junior high that's going to UA. Mainly because you and Godzilla with huge tits let a quirkless loser ride your coattails, said Katsuki, walking away.
Elijah was about to confront him, but his hand was grabbed by Izuku, whose eyes were covered by shadows.
Maybe there's a way of you becoming a hero after all. All you have to do is just take a swan dive off the roof of the building, and maybe you'll have a quirk in the next lie. Katsuki is then interrupted by Elijah punching him in the face, sending him on the ground. You call this being a hero? All you're being is a first-class wanker. You say that one more time, and I'll make sure Bo and Jackie know what you said. And you of all people know those spikes on Bo's shell aren't for show, said Elijah. Bakugo then walks away along with his friends, leaving Izuku and Elijah alone.
Why don't we go find that notebook of yours, huh? Elijah suggests, resting his arm over his shoulder.
Thanks, Ilikun, Izuku said with a weak smile.
Godzilla with huge tits? Wouldn't Gamera be a better insult? The nitwit Elijah jokes, making Izuku laugh. The two friends ended up walking home together after finding his notebook. Though he never admits it, not having a court and being mocked for it bothers him. Just as he was about to say something, Elijah gets a text on his phone from his mom telling him to hurry home. Izuku, I got to go, but if you want to talk about what happened, Todd.
I know, see you tomorrow, Ile-kan, said Izuku.
Elijah then walks halfway until he looks around, making sure the coast is clear, and then jumps from rooftop to rooftop until he reaches his house. As he walked up the steps, he noticed a familiar car and realized who it was. He then opens the door, revealing a tall, fair-skinned man with black hair, who looks to be about in his early 20s. One of the most notable features was that he had 6 pupil-less yellow eyes. For Elijah could say anything. The man then rushed over and hugged him tightly. Eli, the man shouts excitedly. Kane, you're crushing, Ma says, gasping for air. Kane, you got to let him breathe. My bad, he said, letting him go.
Elijah then turns to see a woman with yellow-greenish hair with 2 bangs on each side and a wider bang going from the center of her forehead to the right. She was wearing a gray sweater with leggings underneath.
Thank you, Mo. I honestly forgot what today was, said Elijah, getting up off the floor. Just then a dark-skinned man with short black hair, a full beard, wearing a dress shirt and black pants walks into the room. Did your mother forget to warn you Kane was here? He asks. Yep, most likely on purpose, said Elijah. Minutes later, Elijah was at a dinner table next to his older brother Kane, who was a superhero named Scarlet Spider, his wife Mo, superhero named Burnin, the youngest brother Michael, and their little sister Rachel, their dad sitting at the head of the table, and then I'm sitting next to him. Sue Kane, hopefully you're not getting in too much trouble out there, especially with. Dear, you know Kane can take care of himself, and if not, we know that Mo will be there for him. Speaking of you two, have you ever thought about having a...
Elijah, how was school, lil bro? I haven't heard from you in a minute, said Kane nervously.
Boring. Before that we saw MT Lady, Bakugo was bullying Izuku. I'm telling you, the boy just needs to hit him one good time, and he'll leave him alone. Better yet, Elijah can web him up. Boy, how does that help? Dad asks. But before that, someone tried to ask Bowsette out again, Elijah adds.
Weird thing to have a bunch of guys' head on your girlfriend, Bra said Kane.
Oi, not my girlfriend, Elijah shouts, embarrassed.
Sura, she isn't, said Ratchnera as rolled her eyes along with everyone at the table.
Well, she could like Izuku, nerd over troublemaker, said Mo. Or maybe Eli likes that girl Jackie, or that white-haired girl, or the one he met at the music shop, Kane suggests.
Oh boy, look at the time. I think I hear Ember calling me to play something, and Mom, I think you were about to ask Kane and Mo something. He said, putting his dishes away, then going upstairs to his room.
His room was decorated with music posters and heroes. Right next to his bed was his amp and a red electric guitar whose body was covered in band stickers. It's just as he was about to plug in his guitar, his cell phone begins to ring, and he sees that he has 12 missed calls from Bowsette. He sighs, then calls her back. Hey, Sor. Keep your phone with you, she yells. Sorry, Kane and Mo were over, he explains.
Seriously?
Hey, you think if I never mind Izuku was on TV? Apparently Bakugo was attacked by villain, and he went to go save him, but then All Might came in, she informs him. Shocker, did you try calling him, he asks. I did. Besides telling me everything that happened today with Kaken, he said he was fine, said Bowsette. Well, if he said he was fine then. Oh, but you're not, she retorts. Wait, what did I do, he asks. Gamera would be a better insult, huh, she asks. It's not like I gave him the insult, said Elijah. Fine, so are you going to practice swinging Saturday, she asks. The best time to do it is in the morning, unfortunately, since I ain't a morning person. But that's when there isn't much traffic and less people outside. You remember what happened the first time, said Elijah. Short flashback. Izuku and Bowsette were standing behind Elijah as he fired a web from his wrist onto a crane.
So does your brother have organic webbing, or is that just you? Also, do you have to think about?
Izuku, my brother has to use web shooters because he doesn't have that ability, and I don't try to think about it. I want you guys to record this as my first try, said Elijah. Don't you think you should have talked to your brother or mom about this since?
Where's the fun in that? Now, record, said Elijah.
Bowsette then pressed record on her phone, and he swings off the ledge of the roof. But then he forgot to let go and ended up crashing into a wall, bouncing off of a pole that was hanging from the building into some wires into another wall, screaming all the way down, hitting a sign and landing on the hood of a car, then on the sidewalk. You okay? Izuku asks. I'll be better once you delete that. He responds, then falls back on the ground in pain. Flashback over. I've gotten better since then, but I still got to work on big buildings, said Elijah. Cool, let me come with, she said. Nah, I like doing it. I still got that video on my phone. I wonder how your mom would react if she saw it, she adds.
Be up at 6,000 a.m., he said begrudgingly.
Great, see you then, she said, ending the call. Kupaheim, said Elijah as he plops onto his bed. 2 days later, Elijah goes over to Bao's home, which was a huge mansion. He jumps over the fence quite easily and begins to climb the wall all the way to her window and knocks. It then opens to reveal a somewhat tired Bowsette with her hair down all the way to her waist, wearing a black bear pajamas that stopped at her legs, and the top zipper was somewhat open, revealing a bit of her chest. Mornin' chum, said Elijah. She rubs her eyes for a couple of minutes, then stares at him, then looks down and turns completely red in the face. Elijah then felt the spider sense go off and saw her charging up her fire breath, and immediately got out of the way. Oi, what was that for? He asks, but then notices the window was shut. After a few minutes, she opens up the window, now wearing her hair in a ponytail, a black hoodie and gray jogging pants with matching shoes. So you going to... No. Now let's go, she said, walking behind him and wrapping her arms around his neck, which confuses him. What are you doing? He asks. You're going to swing us out of here, aren't you? She asks.
You said you wanted to come along. I didn't think I was going to piggyback you while I was swinging, he retorts.
She was about to say something, but then hears a knock at her door. Sweetie, everything okay? Asks a monstrous voice. Everything's fine, Daddy, she said while signaling him to go. Arg, your lucky dad scares me. Hold on tight, said Elijah as he shot a web onto a nearby building and swung off. He then went from building to building but made sure to be careful. He then turned to see Bowsette, who looked amazed at what she was seeing until she saw the look on his face. What? She asks with noticeable red hints on her face. Enjoying yourself? He asks smugly. Well, you've definitely improved since hitting the wall. Hey, look at Municipal Beach, said, pointing at it. Elijah then looks to see something moving. He tries to make out what it is and decides to get a closer look and swings over. As they got closer, they recognized that it was Izuku. Oi, Izuku, Elijah shouts as he lands on part of the beach. Izuku then turns around frantically, then sees them walking up to him. Gee guys, what are you doing here? He asks. We should be asking you the same thing, Brew. What are you doing on? Though Elijah stopped talking as he turned his head to see All Might standing right next to Izuku. Bowsette then turned and did the same. I assume that they're friends of yours? He asks.
Yeah,
That's Elijah, and the girl next to him is Bowsette, said Izuku. Okay, calm down and play it cool up, damn it, not that cool, Elijah thought.
A pleasure to meet you, young man, he responds.
Roll with it, honor to meet a legend. Oi, Bowsette, are you daft? Are you not going to say anything? He asks. Umbo. You! All Might! How? Why? When? She shouts frantically and shaking Izuku. These are good questions, said Elijah, noticing Izuku sweating, but then noticed the puff of smoke and saw a shriveled up skinny man. Eh? Said Bowsette, after a few minutes of explaining.
That's awesome, Izuku. Don't worry. We won't tell anybody, said Elijah.
But this is your training regimen. Don't you think this is a bit much? Bowsette asks. Not to worry. He should be ready in 10 months for UA's exam, All Might reassures them. Well, if that's the case, I'm going to start training intensely too. We'll have the same dream, so if he's working this hard, I'm going to as well, Elijah proclaims. This means we won't have much time to hang out with each other. But I agree, said Bowsette. By the way, are you two on a date? Izuku asks, which makes Bowsette blush. Of course not. I was just practicing swing in the city and she wanted to tag along. Plus you know how I am about MT Lady and my Ember. Bet you they don't wear bear pajamas, said Elijah, but then feels a spider sense go off, but doesn't see any danger. "Oh, young man, your pants on fire," said All Might. Elijah then looks below to see that his pants were in fact on fire and immediately runs into the ocean. "Bo-chan," said Izuku. "Stupid pervert Tedric Mabel break that precious Embero fears," she mumbles angrily. After that, the three would train for the next couple of months. They would check in on each other during school, but other than that they continued their training. While Izuku trained with All Might, Elijah trained with his dad on his electric powers on some days and trained with his mom on his webs. Bowsette, which trained with her father and her mother as well. Elijah was currently at his brother Kane's apartment, where he was laid out on the couch while his brother sat on chair next to it. "Webs are hard," said Elijah, exhausted. "At least you have organic wedding. I have to make mine." "That reminds me, have you thought about a superhero name?" he asks. "Nope," he answers, which makes Kane sighs, rubbing the space between his pupils. "You know, can't use Prowler because Uncle used that name," said Kane. "Have you heard from Uncle Hobie?" he asks. "I heard he went on tour and nothing else. All right, quite faffing around and let's get back to swingin'." "You got 2 more months of this," said Kane. "Fine," said Elijah, getting off the couch. On the rooftop, both brothers stood there looking at the city from the ledge.
"If you're not ready for this, we can Baku."
Izuku and Bo are training just as much as I am, so let's do this, said Elijah.
Kane then does a backflip off the ledge, diving off of it, then fires a web onto a building and swings away. Elijah then takes a deep breath, exhales, then jumps off the ledge too. 8:40 a.m. at Ua High School. Bowsette was waiting leaning against a pillar until he sees Izuku running until he sees her and stops. "Well, there's one now, where's the other?" she asks.
Ilai-kun isn't here yet, Izuku asks, catching his breath.
"Right here," Elijah shouts while walking over. "And the gangs are here," said Izuku cheerfully. "Stupid Deku." They all turned to see Bakugo wearing his school uniform and a scarf. "Kaken," said Izuku. "Get out of my way now before I'd..." "Get another punch to the face?" Elijah asks. "Gets a tail whip to the balls?" Bowsette asks. "Let's just all do our best, guys," said Izuku while frantically waving his arms. Bakugo walks past them, continuing to make his way towards the building.
Izuku's right.
"Let's go out there and do our best."
For our dream, said Elijah, putting your hand out there.
Bowsette and Izuku did the same and said, "For our dream." Then all made their way towards the building until Izuku trips and was minutes away from falling until he stopped in mid-fall. "Whoa there, you okay?" Is it going to turn to see a brown-haired girl with a pink scarf, brown jacket, black backpack, and a black skirt with leggings underneath next to him? "I stopped with my quirk. I'm sorry I didn't ask first." "I figured you wouldn't mind me catching you," said the girl to an awestruck Izuku, which didn't go unnoticed by Elijah. "Is this all nerve-wracking?" she asks. "Aye. "We'll see you inside," said the girl, waving at him as she walked away. "You know, the first step Izuku is saying hi," said Elijah, elbowing his ribs playfully. "You act like it's the first cute girl you've talked to," said Bowsette. "Because it is," said Izuku.
"What am I? A brick wall?"
she asks.
"Dice, we can settle this later after the exam," said Elijah, walking towards the building.
At the exam orientation. "What's up, UA? Candidates? Thanks for tuning in to me, your school DJ. Come on and let me hear ya." A man yells, getting no reaction.
"Being mellow, huh?"
"That's fine, I'll skip to the main show. Let's talk about how this practical exam is going to go down, okay? Are you ready?" said the man, still not getting a reaction. "Oh my goodness, it's the voice hero, Present Mike. So cool, I listen to his radio show every day of the week. It's so crazy that all the UA teachers are pro heroes," said Izuku, gushing. "Well, at least this guy is getting a reaction from somebody," said Bowsette. Sweat drops, then notices Elijah snickering. "I know I shouldn't laugh, but this guy getting no reaction is hilarious," Elijah thought to himself, but then noticed a curious Bowsette staring at him.
"What were you laughing about?" she asks.
"Nothing," he says quickly. "After I drop the mic here, you will all head to your specified battle centers. Sound good?" Present Mike asks. They all looked at their papers to see where they were. "I see. They're splitting us up so we can't work with any of our friends," said Bakugo.
Yeah, you're right.
"Our examining numbers are one after the other, but we're assigned to different battle centers," said Izuku. "Get your eyes off my cards," said Bakugo. "Why did you sit next to us in the first place?" Elijah thought to himself. "I'm in Battle Center C. What about you guys?" Bowsette asks. "I'm in D, said Elijah. "I'm in B," said Izuku. "Damn. I was looking forward to crushing all 3 of you," said Bakugo. Ignoring him. "Wish you guys good luck, Izuku, Bo," said Elijah. "Same," said Bowsette. "Yeah, let's do our best," said Izuku. Minutes later at Battle Center D. Elijah, now wearing workout gear along with some others, were all waiting for a signal to go ahead. All I gotta do is destroy some bots to earn points. No problem, Elijah thought to himself and noticed everyone running and quickly did the same. Elijah continues to run until his spider sense goes off, quickly back up to see a green robot coming out of the ground saying target acquired, which makes him smile and quickly gets out of the way and jumps on top of it, hitting it with his electricity, causing it to shut down. The big ones are worth a lot of points, so let's go for them. One down, he said as he swings away. He continues to swing until he sees a bigger robot and quickly slams his fist on its head, crushing it with one hit, turns around and sees another one and fires a weapon and its laser, and he slides under it as it fires on itself. That's 3 of them, so that makes it Lee's. He is interrupted as he jumps backwards to see another one and quickly fires 2 webs from his wrist and launches himself into its body, completely crushing it. Then electrocutes the one behind the destroyed one. That should be at least 48 points, said Elijah as he crushed another one with ease. 2 minutes remaining, said the announcer. Just then a bigger robot from out of nowhere came in and destroyed one of the buildings. Elijah then saw that it was about to crush 4 people who were frozen in fear. Without so much of a thought, Elijah then fires off a self-made net out of his webs and throws it onto the 4 of them and zips them out of danger. Might want to start running, said Elijah, making a break for it himself. Elijah then feels a sharp pain in his eyes, but quickly went away. He then turned and believed that he saw a girl who needed help as one of her legs was stuck under the robot and quickly zipped over there and lifted it, but then saw nobody there. Why am I supposed to be playing tricks on me? I should probably focus on. And time up, said the announcer. After the exam at a food restaurant. You did what? Both Elijah and Bowsette shout in unison until they notice people staring at them and quickly apologize. Your lucky recovery girl was there, said Bowsette. I know, but I didn't get any points, which may mean there's a good chance that we all may not get in. So don't get all mopey, mate, said Elijah. Eli. I have an idea. When we all find out our results, we'll all meet up at my house, she said, but then noticed the terrified look on their faces. I think it would be best if we met at a park or something. Daddy scares you one time and you 2 are afraid to come over to my house, said Bowsette. She's right, Izuku. I mean, it was one sleepover years ago, said Elijah, shaking. He said he was sorry, said Bowsette. Flashback. 9-year-old Izuku, Elijah, and Bowsette and 10-year-old Jackie were just sleeping in Bowsette's room until Izuku had wanted some water, but was scared to go downstairs, so he pokes Elijah, then rubs his eyes and goes with him. Why did you need me in the first place, he asks. It's quiet and scary here, said, looking at the gothic-looking decor. Fair point, let's just get the water and… Now what are you boys doing out of bed? They both slowly turn around to see a gargantuan green monster with sharp, pointy teeth smiling at them. Ah! They both scream, running all the way into the backyard, up a tree to a clubhouse as quickly as possible. Flashback over. You 2 stayed up that tree until your moms came to pick you both up. We always go over to Elijah's house, even though his mom has skeletal arms and spider parts in your apartment. No fair, Bowsette pouts while crossing her arms and puffing her cheeks. She has a point. Fine, we'll go over to your house when we get our results, and then we'll share it all together. Izuku, you with me? He asks.
Why, yeah, he agreed, hesitantly. Yeah, I mean, it's cool, whatever. Well, I got to go, she said, walking out of the restaurant.
Don't worry, if we see him, I have a plan, said Elijah while winking at him. A week later.
Elijah was just playing on his guitar, coming up with a new song, when all of a sudden he hears a knock at the door, which opens to reveal Rachnara with an envelope in hand.
Is that… Yes, sweetie? It's the letter from Yua, she said, handing it to him, then walking out of the room. Elijah then stares at it intensely, but then decides to rip it open, or a small thing felt on the ground revealed a holographic message with All Might. Booyah! I am here as a projection now, said All Might. So cool, said Elijah. You did pretty well on the written test and 58 points on the practical, but not only that, you also saved the lives of students who are in danger, so I am happy to say that you passed. Welcome, Elijah, said All Might. Elijah then jumped in the air, but then put on a black t-shirt, gray ripped-up denim jeans, a black bag, and put on his red chucks. He then ran down the hallway, sliding down the balcony rail, put on his coat, and just before he left the house, his mom liked him questionably. Where are you? Got to tell Izuku and Bo, he said quickly and closed the door.
Elijah then ran as fast as he possibly could, but then web-slinged the rest of the way where he saw Izuku outside of the front gate. He lands near Izuku and looks at the house too. His face immediately went from smiling to frightened.
You want to go first? Izuku asks, nervously smiling. Sure, he said, ringing the bell on the gate. Who is it? An unfamiliar voice asks. Thought we were here to see Bowsette, Elijah said, nervously. 1 second. All right, you can come on through, said the voice as the gate opens. They both then gulp and begin to walk all the way to the door. When they eventually make it there, they are greeted by a short butler. The young mistress waits for you upstairs. Izuku and Elijah, it's been too long, boys. They then hear footsteps coming around the corner to reveal the monster that scared them all those years ago.
It's good to see you again, Mr. KK Koopa, said Izuku, stuttering.
It's been so long, said Elijah, whose knees were clearly shaking.
That it has. He said about reaching out to both of them until Elijah pulls something out of his bag. Eat this, sucker, Elijah yells, handing him a container which he opens to reveal a cooked steak. Hey, you did your research, I love steak, he says, taking the container and walking into the kitchen.
Izuku then gave Elijah an intense stare of disbelief.
What? He asks. That was your plan, he asks. As if we'd win against our best friend's dad, so bribe him. I don't see you coming up with a plan. She hasn't come to greet you two yet. Bowsette. He yells, scaring the both of them until they see Bowsette wearing a black and gray sweater that stopped to her knees and wearing slippers.
I was on my way down.
Hey, you guys are here, she said happily. Well, I think I'll leave you kids to it, said Bowser, walking away.
Well, come on, we're headed to my room,
she said, pulling both of them by their arms. Is your brother here too, or?
Mama and Junior are out shopping, so it's just us, she informs them.
Didn't stop at the third door, where she opened it to reveal a gray room with white flower decorations on the walls, a table set in the middle of the room, a flat-screen TV resting on a marble stand, and in front of it a black leather couch. Huh, it's different than I remember, both Izuku and Elijah thought.
Go ahead and sit at the table. The pizza should be here in a few, she said, taking a seat.
They both sit on each side of the table. There was a bit of silence until Elijah clears his throat. So, who wants to go first? He asks, but then sees Izuku raise his hand.
I'll go. I got in, said Izuku.
That's great, Izuku, said Bowsette, surprised. Where to go, mate? But how? He asks. Well, I aced the written test, didn't get any points during the practical, but got hero points for saving that girl, he explains. I'll go next then. I got in as well, said Bowsette. That's great, Izuku said in awe.
Yeah, I aced the written test and got 60 points in the practical, she said proudly.
Well, I'm really happy for you guys. But I got some bad news, said Elijah, which made the two of them look at him concerned. You lied, don't tell me you didn't, said Izuku. Oh no, said Bowsette sadly. The bad news is that I also got in, he said, laughing. Don't do that, said Bowsette, puffing her cheeks.
So we're all going to UA, said Izuku cheerfully.
That's right, said Elijah, but sees Izuku tearing up. Come on, Izuku, said Bowsette, on the verge of crying.
Well, don't expect me to start tearing up like you lot, said Elijah, looking away.
They then hear a knock at the door and see that it was one of the butlers with 2 pizzas. The 3 friends would then eat, play games, and laugh the entire night. Izuku then left out to use the restroom, leaving Bowsette and Elijah alone, which made her blush a bit and fidget.
So, Ilekun, he asks.
What's up, Bowsy? He asks. Jay, just wondering. Have you If this is about you and Izuku, he asks. No, it's about... Wait, what? She asks. Hey, if you're going to make your move tonight, just let me know and I'll... You think that I like Izuku? She asks. I mean, you got mad at him for not thinking you were cute, and you turned down most of the guys at our school. I just assumed it was either him or Bakugo, but seeing as though he's a dick. Izuku is like a brother to me, and I'm pretty sure he thinks the same, she said, crossing her arms. My mistake, then said. Well, what about you? Oh, are there any girls you like? She mumbles with red hints on her cheeks. I haven't given it much thought. I mean, besides empty, lady. There was the girl at the guitar shop, but my chances of running into her are slim, Jackie. Nah, I just like messing with her. Maybe at UA I'll start dating, said Elijah. You don't get it, mumbles. Did you say something, he asks. Nothing, she said. All right then. Well, I got to go. I'll catch you guys later, walking out the door. Bowsette then walked over to her window where she saw him swinging away in sighs. All those girls yet. What will it take for you to actually see me, she asks. I'm sure he does. He probably just doesn't want to ruin your friendship. She quickly turns around to see Izuku behind her waving. How long have you been standing there? I won't get mad, just answer, said Bowsette. When you started staring out your window. Why don't you tell him how you feel? He asks, which made her turn completely red in the face. Because it's complicated, she said, using her tail to cover her mouth. If you say so, Bochan Izuku said, leaving the room. It was now April. Elijah was dressed or in the UA high school uniform with a black backpack covered with sewed-in patches of bands. As he was about to walk out the door, he then hears a clicking sound and turns to see Ratchnera, who then pulls him into a hug and kisses him on the cheek.
My baby's first day of high school, she says, hugging him.
Oi, come on, Mom. I'm going to be late, said Elijah, trying to break free. Love, you got to let the boy get to school, said the dad. Well, in that case, make it worth my while, she said, pulling him into a kiss. Yep, that's my cue to leave, thought Elijah, quickly getting out of the house. He's about halfway there until he saw a guy land in front of him beating up, which could only mean one person. He then turns the corner and sees a slender young woman with fair skin, green eyes, long red hair with white highlights on the underside that goes past her hips. Noticeably, she had a compass-like halo hovering above her head and was wearing a UA uniform with a golden skull belt buckle on her waist, a black stockings under her skirt, and black heel-length boots. So, what did this guy do, Jackie? He asks. Put an arm around my shoulder and said, why don't we go have a little fun? And you know how that goes, she explains, then notices his uniform, then went wide-eyed. Took you long enough? Me and my mates are now attending UA with you. Like the old days, he explains, and this is the shocked expression on her face. Even Izuku? She asks. Yep, he answers. Crap, could you come with me for a minute? She asks, looking away from him. I got some time for class WH. He is then cut off by her dragging him around the corner to an empty alleyway and making sure no one was watching. When she was done, she then immediately walked over to him, blushing, and grabbed both of his hands. Let's get something straight. I'm only doing this because I'm holding up our end of the bet. This means nothing, she shouts as she puts one hand up her shirt, grabbing her breast, and the other on her butt, stunning Elijah. A bet? What is she? Oh wait. 4 days before the exam.
So, all three of you are trying to get into UA like me? There's no way all three of you are going to get in, said Jackie over the phone.
You don't know that, he shouts.
The chances of all three of you getting in is if one of you collected the Dragon Balls or competed in the Holy Grail War. Or maybe, just maybe, if Izuku gets Geese, she said, laughing.
Bet, said Elijah. Sure, how about this? If only 1 or 2 of you get in, you have to wear a girl's uniform on the first day, said Jackie. And what if I win and all 3 of us get in, he asks. Ha, like it's actually going to happen, but on a chance that it does. I'll let you live out your little fantasy of touching one of my boobs and my ass for 3 minutes, she said. You're going to look real stupid when it happens, mate, said Elijah. And you're going to look hilarious when you're in that girl's uniform. I'll make sure to take plenty of pics. Bo-chan is gonna love seeing those, said Jackie. Present time. I was completely worn out from training. I honestly forgot about it, Elijah thought, but then felt something stiff in his left palm and pinched it, then heard a moan which made him realize what it was. Hey, that's enough. We didn't agree to pinching, she said quickly, moving away and fixing her shirt. They both look at each other, noticing the deep shades of red on their faces, until Jackie runs away before turning back.
If you tell anybody about this, I will have one of my minions smite you, she shouts, running away.
Well, that happened. Eddie should probably get going as well, said Elijah, making his way to UA. Few minutes later, Elijah was walking down the halls looking for his class. Since UA was such a huge school, he did get a little lost, but found the right hallway. Supposed to be looking for Class 1A. They said that classes were split between 20 students each, but due to the high applicants this year, they made some exceptions. Whatever that means, here it is, and lucky me. I don't have to see the blonde jackass, said Elijah. He opens the door and sees Bakugo with his feet up on the desk and a couple of other students talking. Ha ha ha, me and my big mouth, said Elijah, now looking disappointed, but then notices a guy with short hair wearing glasses walk up to him.
Good morning. My name is Tenya Ida Sumi Private Academy, and you, he asks.
Hello, name's Elijah Hendricks, said Elijah, who looks around. Then he sees Bao sitting at a desk until she sees him and signals for him to sit next to her. Haven't been in the same class with each other since elementary. Happy to see a familiar face, said Elijah, smiling. She then blushes, then turns away, making him raise an eyebrow. Glad to be in the same class as you, but what about Izuku? She asks. I'm sure he'll be here any.
The door to the classroom opens to reveal Izuku, who looks nervous and sees Bakugo arguing with Ida.
And next MT lady will come through the door. A was worth a shot, said Elijah, which made her chuckle.
It's him, said Ida, which made everybody look at him. Should we? Nah, not like he's in trouble, said Elijah, then stares at Bakugo. Flashback. I can't believe we have not 1 but 3 students from our school headed to UA, and to think one of them is Midoriya. It's a miracle, said the teacher. After the teacher's congratulations speech, Elijah separated from Izuku and started to look for him. Elijah went to the back of the school where they found Bakugo grabbing Izuku by the collar. He was about to rush in there, but something told him not to. What did you do to pass the exam? You must have cheated somehow, right? It's bad enough I have to contend with Godzilla and Arakan Boy, but then you had to go and make it 4. I warned you not to apply. He shouts, but then felt Izuku grab him by the arm. Kaken. Someone I look up to told me that I can become a hero. That's why I applied, that's why I'm going. Like it or not, you can't stop me, he said, walking past him, then sees Elijah around the corner. You didn't hear that, did you? He asks. Heard what? Let's go or else Bao will die of hunger, he asks, which puts a smile on Izuku's face. Flashback over.
Elijah then sees a girl with purple hair who seemed familiar, but just before he could put it together, he sees a man wearing all black and holding a sleeping bag walk in.
Hello, I'm Shota Aizawa. I'm your teacher, said the man. Seriously, this bloke doesn't look like he gets any sleep, Elijah thought to himself, but then pulled out an outfit from his bag. Let's get to it. Put these on and head outside, said Aizawa, noticing their blank expressions. Minutes later, everyone changed into ethereal workout clothes and headed out to the field where they see him waiting. What? Quirk assessment test? All the students ask in unison. But orientation, we're going to miss it, said the brown-haired girl. If you really want to make the big leagues, you can't waste time on pointless ceremonies. Here at UA, we're not tethered to traditions. That means that I get to run my class however I see fit, he said, making the students gasp.
I thought Bakugo was a wanker, Elijah whispered to Bowsette.
You've been taking standardized tests most of your lives, but you never got used to your quirks and physical exams before. The country's still trying to pretend we're all created equal, but not letting those with the most power excel. It's not rational. One day, the Ministry of Education will learn Bakugo. You managed to get the most points on the entrance exam. What was your farthest distance go with a softball when you were in junior high, he asks. 67 meters, I think, he answers. Right? Try doing it with your quirk. Bakugo then walks up to the mound.
Anything goes, just stay in the circle.
Hurry up, you're wasting our time, said Aizawa. Bakugo is then handed a baseball. He winds up the pitch and then throws it, but adds a bit of explosive quirk to it. Said Elijah.
All of you need to learn your max capabilities. It's the most rational way of figuring out your potential as a pro hero, he said, showing them a monitor showing 705 meters, making them gasp.
Whoa, 705 meters, are you kidding me? Said one of the students. I want to go. That looks like fun, said the pink one. This is what I'm talking about. Using our quirks as much as we want, said another student. So this looks fun, huh? You have 3 years here to become a hero. You think it's all going to be games and playtime? Idiots. Today you'll be competing in 8 physical tests to gauge your potential. Whoever comes in last has none, and will be expelled immediately, he said, making them gasp. Doesn't put all that work in for nothing, said Elijah. Like I said, I get to decide how this class runs. Understand? If that's a problem, you can head home right now, said Aizawa. You can't send one of us home. I mean, we just got here. Even if it's the first day, that isn't fair, said the brown-haired girl. And you think natural disasters are? Or power-hungry villains? Or catastrophic accidents that wipe out whole cities? No, the world is full of unfairness. It's a hero's job to try to combat that unfairness. If you want to be a pro, you're going to have to push yourself to the brink. For the next 3 years, UA will throw one terrible hardship after another at you. So, go beyond. Plus ultra style. Show me it was no mistake that you're here, said Aizawa. Let's get it, Elijah thought to himself. Now we're done wasting time, let the games begin. The first test was a race and Bao's paired with Elijah.
Wait, Eli Konbo-chan, you're in this class too? Izuku asks.
You just noticed that? They shout in unison, but then focused on the race. You don't seem that afraid of losing, said Bowsette. Oh, I won't be losing, mate, said Elijah. Go, said the robot. Bowsette turned around and saw him already at the robot. 302 seconds, said the robot. I must be having an off day, said Elijah, stretching until the girl walks up to him.
506 seconds, said the robot as Bowsette passed it.
And eating her own words, Koopaheim. Finish that sentence, and I will show the video, Bowsette said, which made him comically zip up his mouth. Sometime after Izuku was paired with Bakugo, Bakugo got a faster time than he did. My power has more uses than anyone else's in the school. Yeah, if we need a building destroyed, we know who to call, said Elijah, which made some laugh. I heard that, Brit, said Bakugo angrily. Oh, is that okay? He asks sarcastically. Matter of fact, go jump off Manchester's bridge, he retorts.
It's London Bridge, you prick, said Elijah.
The next test was the grip test. They were all given grip meters, and the stronger the grip, the more it would measure up. Mr. Aizawa, Elijah asks. Yes, he asks. This machine won't break when I grip it, right? He asks. I'm positive that it won't. 787.5 kg, accurate, said Elijah. After it was written down, he walks outside to see Bowsette with a smug look on her face. I got 320 kg, she said smugly. It's better than mine, he said, nervously, but then noticing the worried look on Izuku. The rest of the tests were pretty easy for Bowsette and Ijija, but it didn't go unnoticed that Izuku was struggling. But then during the ball throw, Izuku managed to get a good score, but damaged his finger in the process. After some other tests, they were done and were now waiting for the results. All right, time to give you your results. I've ranked you from best to worst. You should probably have a good idea of your standing already. I'll just pull up the whole list. It's not worth going over each individual score, he informs them. Izuku was struggling, but then sees Elijah with an arm around him and Bowsette on the other side of him. Don't worry so much, I'm sure you did. The score then was shown with Elijah in third, Bowsette in sixth, Izuku in last place, which put a horrified look on Bowsette and Izuku's faces.
And I was lying, nobody's going home, said Aizawa, which stuns everyone.
What?
Said Izuku and Bowsette in unison.
That was just a rational deception to make sure you gave it your all in the tests, said Aizawa.
I'm surprised the rest of you didn't figure that out. I'm sorry, I guess I probably should have said something, said the girl next to Izuku.
Yeah, you should. Ilai-kun.
Bowsette asks and notices him nervously sweating. How can I help you, oh great, beautiful, and very forgiving FR? Enough bootlicking. I promise to not punch in the face if you answer honestly. You knew the entire time, so why d? Before she could finish what she was going to ask, he disappeared without so much as leaving a trace. Tusk, he camouflaged himself. He is so getting punched, said angrily. After school. Elijah used his camouflage until he thought it was clear and made his way out the door only to see Bowsette waiting outside with a deadly look on her face.
Well, today was my first and my last day of school.
Past, over here. He turns to see a petite, fair-skinned, chin-length, dark purple-haired girl with a slender build, with triangular oxides with noticeably longer lashes and short eyebrows. The most prominent features are the flexible, plug-light earphone jacks hanging from each of her earlobes. Need some help getting away? She asks. Need some help getting away? She asks. Absolutely, said Elijah.
Wait behind those bushes, she said, walking away.
She goes up to Bowsette, who looks at her questionably.
Hey, if you're looking for that guy from earlier, I kind of heard something moving in class a few minutes ag.
She didn't have time to finish her sentence as Bowsette ran as fast as she could back into the building. The girl then signaled for him to come out and quickly ran far away from Yua and to a local park. Thanks, said Elijah. It was no problem, she said, which made him look at her questionably until his eyes went wide. Oh wow, it's you, he said. Flashback. A 12-year-old Elijah was a bit lost and was wandering around in a mall. He tried asking for directions, but most of the people in the mall were just ignoring him and continued walking. Where the bloody hell is this music shop? I should have waited for Uncle Hobie, said Elijah, but then noticed a girl about the same age with a bass guitar and walked over to her. Excuse me, I'm looking for a music shop in the mall, but I can't seem to find it. Just follow me, she said, showing him the way. They end up at the music stop, or as soon as you open the door you are greeted with a bunch of guitars on the right side and drums on the left, but one of the more noticeable things was a red guitar in the middle of the shop. They didn't see a one with silver hair and orange eyes walk up to them.
If it isn't my favorite customer, and I see you brought a friend along with you, said the store owner.
Actually, this guy was lost looking for the shop, she explained, but then saw him looking at the guitar in the glass case.
The guitar was a 6-string red and black warlock with golden color strings. Elijah looked at it in awe, but then noticed the cashier behind him. You've got a good eye, kid. That is the Red Mamba, which was owned by Waylon Jones of Aqua Knights. It's a sacred Orpheon, made after their second album because he smashed the old one on a villain's head, said Elijah, shocking the owner. Kid knows his stuff. How do you know about this? She asked.
My Uncle Hobie told me about it. He also told me to get it from you, said Elijah.
Hobie? Oh, you're his nephew. I thought you'd at least be older. I don't know if I can trust something like this to a kid who thinks he can play, said the owner. Do you mind if I try it? He asks. Normally I'd say no, but your uncle recommended you, so I guess it's all right. But I'm telling you, kid, you're better off starting off with cheap guitar, she said, taking it out of the case. She then plugs it up to an amp and gently hands it to Elijah and gives him a pick. Any request? He asks. Surprise me, said the owner.
Elijah then tunes it, then starts to play a riff which sounded a bit familiar to the owner, but then started the hearing saying,
I saw your friend first. That's who I danced with. All this time I was watching you. The music rocked this, our eyes locked thus makin'. I see a trippy picture shoe. Oh, if a man is considered guilty for what goes on in his mind, then give me the electric chair for all my future crimes. Electric Chair by Prince, said the owner. He continues to play for a couple of more minutes until he stops receiving applause from the owner and some of the customers that were in the shop. All right, the guitar is yours. Let me go give you its case, said the owner, walking away. Elijah then sees the girl come up to him. That was amazing, your voice and the guitar. Where did you learn to play like that? She asks, which made him smile. I learned how to play for my uncle. He really got me into a lot of music, especially when he played in the US, said Elijah, rubbing the back of his head. So are you going to be a musician in the future? She asks. Actually, I want to be a hero, but also write songs and play concerts. What about you? He asks. I want to be a hero, and I don't think I can play as good as a cool and cute girl like you. Could probably give me a run for my money if you decide to do both, he said, which made her lady blush. Elijah, right? It's all yours now. Take good care of it, said the cashier, coming out with its case. Thank you, I will, said Elijah with a toothy grin. All of a sudden, Elijah then quickly put the guitar in its case and walked out of the shop halfway until he looked back. By the way, thank you for helping me find the shop, said Elijah. Present time. Crazy. I didn't think we'd end up at the same school, said Elijah.
Not as crazy as me saving you twice now, she remarks with a smirk.
Fair enough. Allow me to reintroduce myself then. I'm Elijah Hendricks, he said, putting his hand out. Kyoka Gyro, she said, shaking his hand. Well then, Gyro, if you're not doing anything like to pay you back, he said. What do you have in mind? She asks, which makes him smile. Minutes later, Elijah takes her to this pizza place that was nearest home. He had a slice of pepperoni while she had a slice of meat lovers. Gyro was hesitant to try it, but then after one bite she immediately had sparkles in her eyes. You are not kidding. This pizza is amazing, said Gyro.
Yeah, me and the mates would usually meet up here, said Elijah.
So you, the green-haired guy who broke his finger, and the blonde girl with a turtle shell and tail with spikes, she asks.
Izuku bowsed. And we have another friend, Jackie, but she's a year older, he informs her.
I thought his name was Deku, she asks.
No, that's just what the prick calls him. He has a nickname for all of us. Izuku is Deku. I get called a bunch of British names or spider names. Bo is called either Turtle Girl, and Jackie gets called nothing, said Elijah. We couldn't come up with anything for her. Gyro asks. No, it's because he fancies her or Bo, said Elijah. Now I kind of want to see what happens if he sees her. So I got to ask, do you still have that guitar? She asks. Course, as if I'd sell a beauty like that, said Elijah. Good. Well, I should get going before my parents wonder where I'm at. We should do this again sometime, and maybe next time we can play together, said Gyro as she got up from her chair. Sounds good, said Elijah. Cool. Give me your contact info, she said, pulling out her phone, as did he. Well, see you at school tomorrow, said Gyro as she walked out the door. With Bowsette.
So you didn't find him at all? Jackie asks, brushing Bowsette's hair.
I looked all over, but I couldn't find him, she answers. Maybe he has something else to do, or he was with some other girl, she asks. Besides you and me, he asks. Well, there was that one girl from the guitar shop that he wouldn't stop talking about, said Bowsette, holding her tail. Here's an idea. Why don't you go over to his house tomorrow morning and ask him? I mean, isn't he usually the one who comes over here to get you? Would be a nice change of pace if you took the initiative, Jackie suggests. I guess I could, said Bowsette. The next morning, Bowsette stood outside Elijah's house. She hesitantly attempts to knock at the door, but then decides to try to walk away until she hears someone open it. She turns to see it was Elijah's father who opened it and looks at her a bit confused.
Hello, Mr. Hendricks. I came to get Elijah for school, she informs him.
Well, don't just stand there. Come on in. He just got out of the shower and went back to bed, he said, but then notices her walking very robotically into the house and up the stairs. She makes her way halfway until she sees his mother. Hello, Mrs. Hendricks. There's no reason to be nervous, dear. His room is just on the left, and to be mindful not to make too much noise, she said, which made steam come out of Bowsette's ears and her face turned completely red. Ratchner chuckles and then walks away. Bowsette then shakes it off and continues until she's in front of the door. She then feels her heart beat incredibly fast and slowly knocks on the door, but no one answers. She gulps and slowly puts her hand up and twists it, opening the door, revealing the room covered in graffiti, band posters, and a guitar leaning next to a leather chair with a footrest. She looks at Elijah laying in bed, only wearing part of his uniform pants and black chucks. She took a long look at his pecs and abs, but then stared at his lips until she snapped out of it and walks over to his bed.
Eli Khan, time to wake up,
she said gently, pushing him, but then heard an alarm going off right next to her.
Elijah then reached out to turn it off, but instead accidentally grabbed one of Bao's breasts. He then squeezed, which made her let out a moan.
Eli Khan, you perv, she said, delivering a slap to the face. Elijah then wakes up and notices the alarm clock going off, Bao's blushing and covering up her chest, looks at his hand, and then goes wide-eyed.
This is the second time this has happened, and hers are bigger than bullocks, he said, covering his mouth.
Whose others have you grabbed? Baost, cracking her knuckles. Ooh, hey, what are you doing in my room and also watching me while I sleep? He asks. I wasn't. I kind of did. If you don't mind leaving my room so I can put on my shirt, I like a peep show, he said, pushing her out of the room.
I really wasn't trying to. Misdirection, you shithead, said Bowsette.
After a few minutes, the door opens with Elijah rushing out of the room, down the stairs, grabbing his breakfast, and running out the door with Bowsette behind him. Repeat what you said this morning, she demands, running after him.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just running to get Izuku, said Elijah.
He makes it to the apartment complex where he sees Izuku at the stop sign, who then sees them and smiles. Hey guys, what's the... No time, we got to run, he said, quickly grabbing him and throwing him over his shoulder. Ili-kun, what's going on? Asks a confused Izuku. Well, I woke up and accidentally grabbed Bowsette anyway. I accidentally said something I was supposed to keep secret, and well, here we are, said Elijah. Why not just tell her what you said, he asks. 'Cause then she's going to kick my ass. Then the other person's going to kick my ass. That's 2 ass kickings for the price of 1, and I am not a gambling man, said Elijah. They eventually made it into the building and quickly took their seats. Bowsette was about to ask again until the bell rang and everybody took their seats. This isn't over, she said, taking her seat and glaring at him. At lunch, Izuku was getting lunch with Elijah and decided to sit with the brown-haired girl from yesterday and the guy with glasses.
I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. I'm Ochako Uraraka, said the girl.
Elijah Hendricks, he said, sitting next to Izuku. That accent, are you from England? She asks.
Born and raised till we moved here where I met Izuku, and... He didn't get a chance to finish his sentence as a tray is slammed next to him, and he turns to see him angry Bowsette.
Me Bowsette Koopa, she said, staring intensely at Elijah, who nervously whistles. Don't you think you should Jew? It's up to Elijah, 'cause all this can go away if he answers who's... Man, the food here is amazing. Can you believe the cook hero, Lunch Rush, made this? He asks, noticing Lunch Rush was about to walk away until he heard that. On today's menu is white rice. It's the perfect comfort food, isn't it? He asks as Izuku whimpers, Tenya gasps, and Bowsette eats her food in anger.
It's a super good, said Uraraka.
After that it was hero basic training. I am here, coming through the door like a hero. Everyone in class then sees All Might coming through the door wearing his old costume that he used to wear, making all the students gasp. I can't believe it's really All Might, said one of the students. So he is a teacher. This year is going to be totally awesome, said another student. Hey, look. Is he wearing his Silver Age costume? Said another student. Meh, I never liked capes, Elijah thought to himself. Welcome to the most important class at UA High. Think of it as Heroing 101. Here, you will learn the basics of being a pro and what it means to fight in the name of good. Let's get into it. Today's lesson will pull no punches, said All Might. Fight training, said Bakugo. Perfect timing, said Bowsette, looking at Elijah. But one of the keys of being a hero is looking good, he said, pulling out a card which made the cabinets open up with a bunch of numbered cases inside them.
These were designed for you based on your quirk registration forms and the request you sent in before school started.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that, Elijah thought to himself.
Minutes later at Training Ground Beta, it didn't take everyone long before they all changed and walked out. They say the clothes make the pros, young ladies and gentlemen, and behold, you are the proof. Take this to heart from now on, you are all heroes in training, said All Might. Hearing him say that got me pumped, Elijah thought to himself. This is getting me all revved up. You all look so cool. Now, shall we get started, you bunch of newbies? All Might asks.
Elijah came out in a red, black, and blue spider suit. Noticeably, he had a huge spiked mohawk on the top of his head, spiked cufflinks on the wrist, a hood with holes on it so the spice can go through, a black vest with buttons and spikes on it.
a metal punk rock belt, and red chucks. Imagine a combination of Miles' toy 99 suit and both Spiderpunk's outfits from the comic and Across the Spider-Verse.
So hot. Elijah turns around to see Bowsette wearing a open long-sleeve black jumpsuit with stocking-like edges, knee pack around her right thigh and boots that sport metal heels and toes. Noticeably, she was wearing a skull-like mask that hides her face, but also was a part of a ripped-up cape. Costume looks really... He begins to say, but then she walks away from him, leaving him confused, but then sees Izuku run out wearing a light green full-body jumpsuit with a red belt, elbow pads, knee pads, and gloves along with his signature red boots. Noticeably, he was wearing a mask with long ear-like protrusions and a respirator if they makeshift smile on it.
Your costume is awesome, Izuku, said Elijah.
Forget about mine, what about yours? How are the eyes moving? He asks. It's a way to show facial expressions while I'm wearing the mask. It also has some other features, said Elijah. Hey Deku, I love your costume. Not too flashy, you know, said Uraraka, going over to them. Uraraka's costume consists of a black, full-body suit with a pale pink design down to the middle of her torso topped with 2 black semi-spheres on her chest, pink stripes starting at her midsection, 18 pink choker, and 2-toned pink sleeves with cuffs. It also included round pink gauntlets with handles, chunky, knee-high boots, and a 2-piece belt with a round buckle. On her face was a matching headgear with a tinted visor. I should have been more specific about what I wanted, like Hendrix-kun. This bodysuit is skin-tight, not really my style, she said. I love this school, said a kid in a purple and yellow outfit. Now that you're ready, it's time for combat training, said All Might. Sir, this is the fake city from our entrance exam. Does that mean that we'll be conducting urban battles again? Ida asks Ida. Not quite. I'm going to move you 2 steps ahead. Most of the villain fights you see on the news take place outside. However, statistically speaking, running with the most dastardly evildoers take place indoors. Think about it. Backroom deals, home invasions, secret underground lairs, truly intelligent criminals stay hidden in the shadows. For this training exercise, you'll be split into teams of good guys and bad guys and fight 2-on-2 indoor battles, he explains.
Isn't this a little advanced?
Asked one of the students wearing a green hero costume. The best training is what you get on the battlefield. But remember, you can't just punch a robot this time. You're dealing with actual people, no, said All Might. Sir, will you be the one deciding who wins? A girl in red asks. How much can we hurt the other team? Bakugo asks.
I am also curious about that question, said Bowsette.
Do we need to worry about the losers getting expelled like earlier? Uraraka asks. Will you be splitting us up based on chance or comparative skill? Ida asks. I wasn't finished talking, All Might growls. He then pulls out a small book and looks through it. A script? I would have just winged it, Elijah thought to himself. Listen up, the situation is this. The villains have hidden a nuclear missile somewhere in their hideout. The heroes must try to foil their plans. To do that, the good guys either have to catch the evildoers or recover the weapon. Likewise, the bad guys succeed if they protect their payload or capture the heroes, he informs them.
Sounds like a classic action movie setup, said Izuku.
Or an old video game, Elijah adds. Sometimes limited, and we'll choose teams by drawing lots, said All Might holding a box with a hole on top.
Isn't there a better?
Lita was about to ask before he saw Elijah walk up to All Might and put his hand in the box, then noticing the look on some of their faces. You heard the man. We don't have much time, said Elijah, pulling out one that said C.
As he waited for everyone else to draw, he then sees a tall girl with long black hair tied into a spiky ponytail with a large strand hanging on the right side of her face. Her hero costume consists of a high-collared, sleeveless crimson leotard with silver lines at her waist and around her arms, which is open to expose her skin from her neck to her navel. She also wore calf-length red boots with heels.
My name is Momoya Yarazu. We'll be teaming together, she said, putting her hand out.
Elijah Hendrix, but you can call me Elijah or Eli.
He said, shaking your hand. I declared the first teams to fight will be these guys. All Might shouts, pulling out 2 balls, one with the letter D and another with the letter A. Well, fate can be a cruel bitch, Elijah thought to himself. Team A will be the heroes, Team D will be the villains. Everyone else can head to the monitoring room to watch, he shouts. Yes, sir, said the class, making their way over there, but Elijah stops for a minute and walks over to Izuku. You're going to have to face them eventually, and on the plus side, you get to hit him one good time, though if you want my recommendation, go for the job because then we all don't have to hear him talk for a while, he said, walking away. They watch from the monitors that Izuku's team goes in, but is quickly attacked by Bakugo. but luckily Izuku dodged while also saving Uraraka.
Sneak attack, Bakugo? What kind of man pulls cheap crap like that? One of the students asks.
It's a viable strategy. He's playing the part and acting like a true villain would, said All Might. Elijah was watching until he notices Bows come up to him staring at him intensely. How long can you keep your camouflage up? She asks. I'm not going to get involved in this, Bo said Elijah. He's our friend. That's exactly why I'm not getting involved. We can't keep protecting him. He's got to learn to fight his own battles, and it doesn't matter if he wins or loses because we're going to be there for him, said Elijah, which irritates her, and she walks away. Bakugo then rushes at Izuku, but he turns it into a judo throw, slamming him to the ground, catching everyone off guard except for Elijah. Kaken, you always use a big right hook to start a fight. I know because I watched you for years. I analyzed every amazing hero, even you. I wanted to learn everything I could about them. It was all in the notebook you burned and threw away. You can call me Deku, but I'm not the same helpless, defenseless kid anymore. You hear me? I've changed. From now on, Deku it was the name of a hero. Izuku proclaims, taking what he used to make fun of you and using it for your own purposes. Cool, Elijah thought to himself. Deku, you're shaking in your boots, you're so scared. But you want to fight me anyway. That's why I hate you, Bakugo yells. Writer's intermission. I will not be covering this entire fight, just wanted to cover this part since it was really important, so I'm just going to skip all of that.
Izuku's team won when he punched a hole through the ceiling, giving Uraraka a chance to grab a pillar, hitting a bunch of debris at Ida, which gives her an opportunity to grab the device.
I knew he could do it, Elijah thought to himself. The hero team wins, said All Might. What a weird way for this to end. The losers are practically untouched and the winners both on the ground, said one of the students. How does the old saying go? They may have lost the battle, but they won the war, said the student with the crow's head. I couldn't have put it better myself, said Elijah. This class is intense, said the student in green. Izuku was then taken to Recovery Girl, while the rest of the students returned to the control room where they all watched the fight. Uraraka sighs, but then noticed Elijah walked up to her and pulled his mask up. Good work out there, he said, giving her a thumbs up. Thanks, Eli-kun, she said, giving him a thumbs up as well. How could I have failed, said Lita. I don't beat yourself up, mate. You took the role more seriously than anyone else out there, said Elijah, which cheers him up a bit, but then everyone notices All Might coming into the room. The MVP of this battle is Lita, he said, shocking everyone. Not Ochako or Midoriya, even though they won. The student in green asks, can someone explain why? All Might asks. I do, Professor All Might, said Momo, who then gave a full description that Izuku and Bakugo acted on impulse and personal grudge. Uraraka lost focus mid-battle, but Lita was the only one who took the role seriously and thought of a strategy in an instant. The whole room went silent after she explained. Glad I got paired with her, Elijah thought to himself. Yes, well, you overlooked a few things. Young Lita could have relaxed a bit more in the exercise, but otherwise you nailed it, said All Might. One should always start with the basics and devote themselves wholeheartedly to learning. That's the only way to become a top hero, she explains. Well, she's a stick in the mud, Elijah thought to himself. Now then, time to blow this joint, let's move on to the next match. Think about everything we saw and discussed as you tackle training for yourself, said All Might. Yes, sir, said the students. The next round was a boy named Todoroki. He didn't need a partner since he froze the entire building. Aye, it's so cold, said Uraraka, shivering. Didn't have to freeze the entire bloody building, Elijah yells. The next match was Elijah and Momo versus Bowsette and the purple guy. When she heard this, she smiled and walked away with the purple guy. So Momo, right? Let's talk strategy once we're inside, said Elijah as he walked away with her, but then heard two voices. Good luck, Eli-kun, said Uraraka. Remember to act villainous, said Lita.
Oh, I plan to, said Elijah as put his mask fully on.
Inside the building. All right, I don't know much about the purple guy, but I do know Bowsette and everything her quirk can do, said Elijah. What can she do exactly, she asks. For starters, her shell. She can shoot the spikes off her shell as a weapon. She can go inside of it and chuck herself at people. Then there's her nails, which are razor sharp, and she has a fire breath, and that's all coming from her dad's side of the family, said Elijah. What about her mother's, she asks. Not 100% sure, but I know how to get into Bowsette's head. You can just leave all that to me while you focus on guarding. I don't know what the little troll's quirk is, but be on guard, said Elijah, who then goes into camouflage and jumps onto the wall. Elijah continues the crawl until he notices both of them on the second floor walking up the stairs. I don't know much about the girl, but you might want to be careful with Elijah. He may seem like a lazy, rude British jackass, but he's actually really intelligent. His quirk let him have a lot of abilities of a spider, the most annoying being his spider sense, which lets him know when he's in danger. He also has electric powers, so be careful of. She stopped mid-sentence when she caught him checking out her butt and grabbed him, then turned around and gave him a death glare. You might want to take this seriously because he's right above you. What's up, heroes? He asks, jumping down, which makes her smile, and the purple one hides behind her leg. Should have kept yourself hidden, said Bowsette. All but then I wouldn't have a chance to mess with you, Gamera said Elijah, which made her growled as a tick mark formed on her head.
I'm going to give you a minute to think about your words, Very.
Got to push a little further, you're right, maybe I should make blonde jokes. Nah, Bakugo already gives you guys a bad rep, or I could leg it back, but I want to give you at least a chance to catch me. I mean, with that heavy shell of yours, there'd be no chance, said Elijah, just made her ground more and added a second tick mark on her head. Keep calm, he's just playing a role, she told herself. In the monitoring room. I see, he's trying to get her angry, said one of the students. But why? The student with the spiky red hair asks. To distract her, said All Might. Back in the building. Okay, time for the final step. What's the matter, Koopaheim? Are we still thinking about this morning? Said Elijah, which caught her attention. Shut up or else I'll. Okay, gotta think of something on the fly. Oh, I know you know what Izuku told me about, it's honestly funny. To think that Elijah doesn't get a chance to finish this sentence because Witch's spider sense goes off as he sees her jump out and quickly moves out of the way. I'm gonna destroy you, she yells, charging at him in a blind rage. Elijah then leaves from wall to wall down the stairs with her following in pursuit. He looks back to see her eyes were completely red with rage, and then goes into her shell and tries to hit him. But he quickly dodges out of the way. Hendrix-kun, I've captured Minta and we've got 3 minutes left, said Momo. Okay. All I gotta do is distract her for another 3 minutes. He thought himself dodging most of her attacks until she fired her spikes off her shell, which one of them ended up hitting in the arm. He then falls to the ground but quickly gets on his feet holding his arm, and she went back to her normal form. Nowhere left to run, she said, readying her sharp nails.
Before you finish me off, can I just say one last thing, he asks.
What? She asked, but then saw him walking over to her and grabbed her shoulder. You do remember this is timed, yeah? Elijah asks, confusing her until she remembered, but it was too late.
The villains win this round, said All Might.
Ha! Oh, come on, Bowsette, I was just playing a...
Izuku didn't really tell you anything, did he? She asks, grabbing her tail.
Nah, I just made all that up. So are we. But he's cut off when he notices her walking away. After the other tests. That's a wrap. Super work. You really stepped up to the plate, and we had no major injuries except for Midoriya. You should be proud, said All Might. It's nice encouraging words after our homeroom class. Mr. Aizawa was kind of a buzzkill, said the student in green. I'm happy to bring such staggering positivity to my alma mater. That's all for now, folks. I should go and check on young Midoriya's progress. Now watch our pro exits, like he's got somewhere to be, he says, running incredibly fast. After that, afternoon classes went by. On their final class was a study period, leading to most of the students talking amongst themselves except for Elijah, who put in his headphones and put his feet on the desk until the girl with dark green hair walked up to him, which made him take out his headphones. Didn't mean to disturb you, but I wanted to say your match was pretty cool. My name is Suyu Asui, but just call me Tsu, said the girl.
Elijah, but you could just call me Eli or whatever, he said, but then noticed others coming around.
Hey, I'm Mina Shido, and your accent is cool, she said. So I've been told, said Elijah, who then notices that irritated Bowsette had on her face until she noticed a bunch of boys walk out and introduce themselves as well. The first one was Ijiro Kirishima, the second was Hantasiro. The both of them were surrounded until Izuku came in with his arm in a sling, but everybody went to go talk to him. Elijah then noticed Gyro walk up to him along with a student with a crow's face who sat on a desk in front of his. Crowds aren't your thing, he asks. You guess right, Elijah, he said, introducing himself. Takoyami, it's so noisy, he said, but then is interrupted when he sees Lita. Hendrix, take out your headphones and take your feet off the desk, Takoyami. Stop using that desk as a chair. Get off of it this instant, he demands. Dude, you need to chill, said Gyro. You're carrying a lot of tension, said the blonde-haired student with a tail. No one understands. I cannot condone actions that disrespect these desks, not when great men and women are upperclassmen once used, said Lita. Also Noisa, said Tokoyami.
He's not wrong, said Elijah, then notices Bowsette walking out of the classroom. But then feels his phone buzz and sees he has a message.
Elijah then got off from his desk, put his hands in his pocket, and walked out of the classroom and saw Bowsette looking out of the window.
So you wanted to talk? Elijah asks, which caught her attention.
I'll forgive you for this morning, and what you said during the training if you do something for me, said Bowsette. All right, name it, said Elijah.
I want you to take M. She is cut off by Izuku running and bumping into Elijah's arm.
Oh, sorry, Elijah. I gotta go stop Kakin from leaving, he said, running away, which made the both of them look at each other then catch up to him. Why? They both ask in unison. He thinks I was hiding my power the entire time, so I gotta tell him where I got mine. Are you insane? Bowsette asks. His ego is hurt, and you want to tell a secret that All Might trusted you with. I don't think you understand the whole situation. Let me go talk to him while you two just watch, said Elijah. You will? Izuku asks. I think that's a bad idea, said Bowsette. Maybe, said Elijah, walking ahead of them. Elijah then saw Bakugo walking away very slowly. Hoi! He yells, catching his attention. What? He answers. Elijah notices Izuku and Bowsette hiding in the doorway and winks at them, then walks over to Bakugo. How do you think this is going to go? Izuku whispers to Bowsette. It's Elijah, so I don't have a clue, she responds.
Man, you did a number on Izuku. You probably would have won if he hadn't pulled that last-minute movie, said Elijah.
Is this going anywhere? He growls. It is. Saw the look on your face earlier, and I know what you're feeling right now. Not only are you mad that you lost to Izuku, but also because your ego got put in its place, said Elijah. You think I don't know that? When I was watching that ice guy, I realized I could beat him in a head-to-head fight. I probably couldn't even beat Turtle Girl. Crap. I even agreed with what the girl said. My attack was so stupid. Damn it, he said, gripping his fist. They're going to improve in time, and you feel that. Give a message to Deku. Enjoy his win because he won't get another. I'm just getting started. Got that? I'm going to end up the #1 hero, no matter what. He'll never beat me again, the bastard, he said, walking away as Elijah smirks and walks over to the others who were shocked.
So did you get all that? He asks.
Loud and clear, said a stunned Izuku. What about you, Turtle? Elijah, I swear I will aim my mouth over yours and use my fucking quirk, Bowsette yells. I know that was supposed to sound kinky, but... Shut up, said Bowsette.
So we all walking home together? Izuku asks.
Of course, especially since you need help carrying your stuff and also explaining that to your mum, said Elijah.
I forgot about that, said Izuku.
After dropping off Izuku and explaining what happened with his arm, Elijah then walks Bowsette home. I thought she was going to have a heart attack, said Bowsette. I thought he got that from his pop's side of the family, Elijah laughs. By the way, about what I was going to ask, said, leaning on his shoulder. I guess to watch your brother or something, he asks. Nope, could you? Come pick me up to walk to school tomorrow, she asks. Arg, you know I hate the AM. But fine, said Elijah as he stopped in front of her mansion. Cool, see you tomorrow, she said, opening the gate. Elijah was walking with Izuku and Bowsette to school. When they got there, they saw that a bunch of press were waiting outside the front of the school. Why are they all here? Bowsette asks. Bloody vultures, said Elijah. So many, said Izuku nervously. Elijah then walked forward, which a bunch of the press noticed, and went up to him only to be flipped off with a smile. Okay, you there, can you tell me what it's like to? No comment, said Bowsette, walking towards Elijah. Okay, how about this one? Hey you? You tell us what it's like to work so closely with All Might? The reporter asks. Sorry, I have to go to the nurse's office. Yeah, right away, said Izuku Speed, walking towards his two friends. Did you really have to flip them off? Izuku asks. No, just felt like it, Elijah answers. Few minutes later in class. All right, decent work everyone. I saw the tape from combat training yesterday, and it wasn't half bad. Bakugo, you're talented, so don't sulk like a child about your loss, okay, said Aizawa.
Well, now we know who his favorite is, Elijah thought to himself.
Midoriya, I see the only way you won the match with my messing up your arm again. Work harder, and don't give me the excuse you don't have control of your quirk that... Mr. Aizawa, if I may say something? Elijah asked to the shock of everyone. What is he about to do? Bowsette thinks to herself. Go ahead, said Aizawa.
You say you watched the tapes, correct? That would include audio from the fights. Why are you praising a complete jackass like Bakugo, but you go hard on Izuku? If you're going to show favoritism, at least make it subtle, said Elijah, again shocking everyone in class.
Oh, he is. You didn't let me finish. Midoriya, your quirk is very useful if you can get a handle on it. So show a little urgency. As for you, Hendrix, we'll talk after class, but right now, we need to get down to business. Our first task will decide your future, said Aizawa. Is it another quirk test? All the students thought to themselves.
You all need to pick a class representative, said Aizawa.
Oh good, just normal school stuff, the whole class thought in relief. Well, I officially don't care, Elijah thought himself, deciding to take a nap. Eventually the class decided to vote was led to Izuku getting 4 votes, Momo getting 2, Elijah getting 2 as well. How did I get 4 votes? Said Izuku, surprised. Alright, who voted for him? Bakugo asks, slamming his hands down on the desk. Do you honestly think someone's going to vote for you? One of the students asks. That was a good nap, and why is my name on the board? Elijah asks, waking up. They catch up the speed, the class put it to a vote, and you somehow got 2, Bowsette informs him.
I thought that he'd be a good choice, said the invisible student, sheepishly.
I appreciate that, Toru Hagakure, she answers. She sounds familiar. Okay, that's 1 vote, what the other one come from? Elijah asks, but then notices Izuku whistling nervously.
Well, they have it, our class rep is Midoriya, but what about?
She can have it. I don't want it, said Elijah.
Then our deputy is Yayurazu,
said Aizawa as the new student stood up front. Really? It's not a mistake, Izuku asks, shaking. How'd this happen? Momo asks. After class and getting chewed out by Aizawa, Elijah was on his way down for lunch until he sees Toru waiting in the hallway. Toru, right? He asks. That's right, she said, stuttering. Was there something you needed? He asks. I was hoping we could have lunch together if that's okay, she said. Sure, he said. Minutes late in the cafeteria. Guys, I'm kind of wondering about the class rep thing. I don't think I'm qualified, said Izuku.
Sure you are, said Ochako.
Do I have more faith in yourself, Izuku, said Bowsette. You'll be great, Ida, with a hint of resentment. Should have been here by now, said Bowsette. I'm sure Mr. Izawa is giving him an earful, said Ida. On another side of the cafeteria, Toru and Elijah were eating lunch together and getting to know one another.
So you were that girl I saved from the rubble, Elijah asks.
Hard not to forget you. I've never seen somebody with so many piercings, said Toru.
Pretty sure I was able to see you for a brief second, he said.
Why, you didn't see everything, did you?
She asks. Nope. All I remember was your face. So beautiful, said Elijah. Why, you think that I'm Bao? They then heard an alarm go off, making all the students gasp and wonder what's happening. Warning. Level 3 security breach. All students, please evacuate the building in an orderly fashion, said a voice on the alarm system.
Someone was able to get past the barrier? Toru asks.
They make their way towards where everybody was leaving out of but noticed it was super crowded. Elijah then came up with an idea. Toru, hop on my back, said Elijah. But, okay, she said, wrapping her arms around his neck. Elijah then activates his camouflage and jumps onto the ceiling. None of the students seem to notice the both of them. He makes it out of the exit with her. But then he is a loud boom and yelling. Listen up, everything is okay.
Is that Ida? Elijah asks.
It's just the media outside. There's absolutely nothing to worry about, everything's fine. We're US students, we need to remain calm and prove that we're the best of the best, said Ida. Minutes after that, everyone managed to calm down until the police arrived and got rid of the media. Soon after, everyone went back to their classes. It's time, class rep. Let's begin, said Momo. Okay, so we need to figure out who the other student class officers will be, but first, there's something that I want to say. I've thought a lot about this, and I think that Tenya Ida should be class rep. He was able to capture everyone's attention and get us in line. So I believe that he should be the one leading our class from now on, said Izuku. I agree, said Elijah.
Yeah, you know what? If Midoriya vouches for him, I'm good. Plus, he was a big help. He totally manned up and took charge, right? Kirishima asks.
Everyone then voted for Ida 3 class rep. After that, their day was back to normal all the way till 3,000 when school was out.
Elijah was ready to head out until he noticed Toru behind him. So he couldn't tell she was very fidgety.
Eli-kun, I was wondering if we could walk home, Tojthursh asks.
Elijah then looked around and noticed that Izuku and Bowsette had already left in size. Sure, said Elijah. They walk together until they reach the train station. She then walks forward but then turns around. Something wrong? He asks. Could you lean down a bit? She asks. Sure, but what for? He was cut off when he felt something peck him on the cheek. See you tomorrow, she said, running off.
Elijah then went home but couldn't get what happened to him out of his head. After doing his homework, because I was working on his music, but struggled as the thought of the kiss kept coming back to his head, and decides to face call Izuku, Bowsette and Jackie, who immediately answers. Izuku was at his desk on his side of the camera. Jackie was sitting on her chair, while Bowsette was painting her nails.
Where have you been all day? We were looking at you during lunch, said Bowsette.
Yeah, I was hanging with Toru,
he said, which made both of them stop what they were doing. You were doing what? Bowsette asks. Who's that? Jackie asks. She's this girl in our class that's invisible, Izuku explains.
Yeah, she has to hang out during lunch, and after classes we ended up walking home together, and she kind of kissed me on the cheek, he said, catching everyone by surprise.
Oh, does our favorite Brit have a crush? Jackie teased, who noticed Bow's look of shock.
I mean, she seemed kind of cool, said, rubbing the back of his head. Bo-chan. That's great, so great, super great, she said nervously. You sure about that, Bowsy? Jackie asks. Why wouldn't it be? Happy for him. Shoot your shot with the invisible girl, said Bowsette. All right, never know, let's try, right? Elijah asks. All right, said Izuku. Good luck, said Jackie. Well, I got to go, but I'll see you tomorrow, said Elijah, jumping off the call. Bo-chan, are you going to be? Oh wow, look at the time I gotta go by, she said, immediately ending the call. Give her time, said Jackie. With Bowsette. After ending the call, she then curled up to her knees.
Idiot, said Bowsette. Izuku and Elijah were walking to school when they ran into Jackie and decided to walk together.
So where's Bowsette at? She usually wants you guys to school, Jackie asks.
She sent us a text message saying she was going ahid, said Izuku. And I ain't got a Scooby-Doo, mate, what that was about, said Elijah, confusing her. It means he doesn't have a clue, Izuku explains.
Thank you, Izuku, said Jackie.
They eventually make it to the gate. Jackie went to her classes while Izuku and Elijah then take the seat next to Bowsette, but unlike other days she was ignoring him completely. Today's training will be a little different. You'll have 3 instructors. Me, All Might, and another faculty member be keeping tabs on you, said Aizawa, making them gasp. 3 pros? Is that because of the break-in? What are the students asks? Sir, what kind of training is this? Another student asks. Rescue. You'll be dealing with natural disasters, shipwrecks, stuff like that, he said, holding up a sign that said rescue, which makes the students gasp. Everyone in class started to get hyped for the rescue training and completely ignoring Aizawa. Guys, I'm not finished. What you wear in this exercise is up to you. I know you're excited about costumes, but keep in mind that you haven't gotten used to them yet, and I might limit your abilities. For this special training is at an off-campus facility, so we'll be taking a bus to get there. That's all, start getting ready, said Aizawa. Everyone did what they were told and most of them were heading outside. Elijah had put on his costume, then made his way out as well. Got to try my best on this training, then worry about asking out Taurus at Elijah, but then heard a shriek. You are going to ask me out. Elijah then looked around, but didn't see anything until you looked behind him to see a pair of gloves and boots, coming to the realization that Toru was behind him. Oh Toru, were you waiting for me? He asks. Actually, I was coming from changing into. But more importantly, I would love to go out with you, she said. Cool. Are you doing anything, Af? Nope. I mean, I don't have anything planned, she answers. All right. Then I promise an exciting date, then said Elijah as they walked together outside. As they made it outside, they then heard a whistle being blown by Ida. Gather round, Class 1A. Using your student numbers, form 2 neat lines so we can load the bus efficiently, Ida yells, continuing to blow the whistle. Minutes later on the bus.
Elijah was sitting next to Toru and on the bus, listening to his music with her until he overhears part of a conversation.
If anyone has pro quirks, it's Todoroki, Hendrix, and Bakugo, said one of the students.
Sure, but Bakugo's always angry, so he'll never be that popular, said Taisui, which made Elijah laugh.
Oh, what'd you say? I'll kick your ass, he yells. You see, she said, pointing at him. Oh, I can hear it now. Breaking news, local hero threatens to beat up a girl because he insulted her more at 5:00, said Bowsette, which made everybody laugh. You know, we basically just met you. So it's kind of telling that we all know your personality is flaming crap mixed with garbage, said another student. You're going to regret the day you applied to the school, you loser. And as for you, insects.
1, spiders aren't insects, and 2, don't make me call Jackie, said Elijah, which made him stop and sit in his chair.
You weren't joking, said Gyro.
One of these days, Brit, said Bakugo. After a while, they all got off the bus. It was meant by another hero wearing a suit, seemed like they were heading into space. It's the Space Hero 13. The chivalrous pro who has rescued a ton of people from disasters across the world, said Izuku in awe. Classic Izuku, am I right, Bo? Don't talk to me, she said, walking away from him. Okay, what'd I do this time? He asks Izuku. Who knows, maybe she just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. he suggests nervously and frantically moving his hands. I can't wait to show you what's inside, said 13. They all go inside and notice a bunch of different landscapes, the kind of like an amusement park. A shipwreck, a landslide, a fire, a windstorm, etc. I created this training facility to prepare you to deal with different types of disasters. I call it the Unforeseen Situation Joint, but you can call it ASE, said 13. Just like the Universal Studios Japan, all the students thought. I'd rethink that name in case of a lawsuit, said Elijah. Clock's ticking. We should get started, said Aizawa. Excellent. Before we begin, let me just say one thing. Well, maybe two things, possibly 3, 4, or 5. We get it, said the class. Listen carefully. I'm sure you're aware that I have a powerful quirk, it's called Black Hole. I can use it to suck up anything and turn it into dust, said 13.
Yeah, you've used Black Hole to save people from all kinds of danger, haven't you? Izuku asks.
That's true, but my quirk could also easily be used to kill. Some of you also have powers that can be dangerous in our superhero society. Some of you also have powers that can be dangerous. In our superhuman society, all quirks are certified and stringently regulated, so we often overlook how unsafe it can actually be. Please don't forget that if you lose focus or make the wrong move, your powers can be deadly. Even if you're trying to do something virtuous like rescue someone, thanks to Aizawa's fitness tests, you have a solid idea of your quirk's potential, and because of All Might's combat training, you likely experience how dangerous your powers can be when used against other people. Carry those lessons over to this class. Today you're going to learn how to use your quirks to save people's lives. You won't be able to use your powers to attack enemies or each other, only help. After all, that's what being a hero is all about, ensuring the safety of others. That's all I have to say, and thank you so much for listening, said 13, taking a bow, receiving cheers from the students. Now with that, Aizawa begins to say until the lights started to die, and there was a giant black fog spewing out, and through the fog a man with hands covering his face and on his head came out. Something tells me the same part of the training, Elijah thought to himself. Stay together and don't move. 13, protect the students. Aizawa yells. Whoa, what is that thing? Did the training already start? I thought we were rescuing people, said Kirishima.
Stay back. This is real. Those are villains, said Aizawa, which made the students gasp.
What? Real villains? No way. How could so many get into a facility this secure? Kirishima asks. Yeah, 13. Why are the alarms going off? Momo asks. Good question. I'm not sure, 13 answers. Is the entire campus under attack, or is there only target? The way, if the alarm sensors aren't being triggered, then one of these villains must have a quirk that's masking their presence here. They carefully chose this isolated facility as an entry point at a time when a class was being taught. They're fools for trespassing here, but they thought this out, said Todoroki.
Would they come all the way? They're not here for us. They're here for the heroes? No, I doubt they would show up for Mr. Aizawa or 13. That only leaves, Elijah's thoughts were interrupted when he sees a glove on his arm.
Elijah? Toru asks. Sorry, I was thinking about something, said Elijah. 13, get them out of here, and that'll alert the main campus.
No offense, Mr. Aizawa, I feel that's a bad idea. If what Todoroki said is true, that means they most likely have a way of making sure no one can use our cell phones or any other way of calling for help, said Elijah.
Kaminari, try using your court to contact the school, said Aizawa, receiving a nod as he attempted to. Sir, what are you going to do? There's too many of them. Even if you could nullify their quirks, your fighting style is not suited for this. Your power works best in stealth and one-on-one fights, said Izuku. There's a lesson you'll learn as you grow. You can't be a pro if you only know one trick, he said as he jumped down and started taking on the villains. Let's go, kids. Aizawa's got this, said 13. All the students agreed and started running towards the door except for Elijah, who seemed a bit hesitant to leave, but then feels something on his arm. He turns and sees Bowsette. We have to go, he can handle it. Please, Ili-kun, she said with a stern look on her face. He grunts, then makes his way to the door with the others. They were almost there, but then the purple fog appeared from the ground and a villain surrounded by it showed up. It's a pleasure to meet you. We are the League of Villains. This may be presumptuous of us, but we invited ourselves into this haven of justice to say hello. We thought All Might would be here, but it appears we were wrong. Must have been a change in plans we could have not foreseen, said the villain. Okay, maybe it would be best if we— Elijah was cut off when he sees Katsuki and Kirishima jumped at the mist villain, but it did no damage. What an excellent attack. What I expected of UI students, he replies. You two get out of the way, right? No 13 orders. I'll scatter you across the facility to meet your comrades and your deaths, he said, spilling all over them. Elijah in the blink of an eye ends up falling into this lake along with Izuku. Izuku was able to swim, but Elijah was having trouble. All the places to end up, Elijah thought as he flailed his arms trying desperately to get to the surface, but turned and saw a shark man about to attack Izuku, but then saw Tsuyui come and save him before passing out. 1, 2, 3. I don't think it's working. 1, 2, 3. Elijah then opens his eyes and sees Tsuyu giving him mouth to mouth, and then quickly spits out water, taking deep breaths. Ilai-kun, your Aka said Izuku. Cough, what just happened? He asks, desperately catching his breath. That villain summoned some kind of shadow and teleported us to this lake. You were drowning until Tsuyu pulled you out, but you weren't breathing, so she gave you mouth to mouth, Izuku explains, just made him touch his lips for a minute. Note to self, take swimming lessons, you have my thanks, Tsu, he said, which made her smile. Lucky. Elijah then turned to see the purple one kicking part of the ship.
This is turning out to be a terrible day of class, said Tsuyu.
Every day is, but this is definitely the worst, said Elijah as he wringed out his mask, then put it back on.
Yeah, I keep thinking about what that villain said. They knew our whole schedule, and who would be here, said Izuku.
They must have gotten the schedule from that time the press showed up, said Elijah. It makes sense. The teachers were busy dealing with the media, and we were all stuck in the cafeteria. That means they've been waiting for the perfect time to attack, just like Todoroki said they were, said Izuku. The nearest specifically targeting All Might, meaning that we're all. Hey, hold on a second, said Minta. Who is he? Elijah whispers to Izuku. Minta, he's been in our class the entire time, said Izuku. It's not like these guys can really kill All Might. Once he shows up, he'll pound these villains until there's nothing left, he said, punching the air. Think about it though. If the villains spent so much time planning this attack, then they probably figured out a way to kill him, and didn't you hear what that smoke guy said? Maybe we should worry more about not getting tortured to death, said Tsuyu. She's right. To his powers he can probably teleport us anywhere. What's important is that we got to survive long enough for All Might to get here, said Elijah. Even if he does show up, who knows if he'll make it out in one piece, said Tsuyu. No, the pros are going to save us, right? Tell the Brit and Frog Boobs to shut up, said Minta. I wish you'd shut up. Wait, Frog Boobs? Said Elijah, confused, but then felt his spider sense go off. Ribbit, said Minta. We got company, said Elijah. They all turned to see a half-fish villain, and another villain headed their way along with 2 others coming from the right side.
Bad guys.
Minta screams. Oi, this ain't the time for screamin'. Now's the time for fightin', said Elijah. Elijah's right. If they can beat him, then we have to stop whatever it is these bad guys are planning. We have to work together and keep All Might safe. No one at UA knows what's happening. This is up to us. Let's be heroes, said Izuku, receiving a clap of approval from Elijah. What do you mean fight? Are you both crazy? These guys might be able to kill All Might, and you think we can take them. Did one of you hit your head? We got work here, or that the Spider Brit started acting like this after he got kissed? Minta asks, panicking. It wasn't a kiss, said Tsuyu and Elijah in unison. The best plan is for us to wait for a pro hero from UA to come save us, he said, crying. Put a sock in it. We've already established they're not coming, which only leaves one option, said Elijah. Think about it. Those villains down there clearly have an event in the water and assume that's where we'll fight, said Izuku. If that's the case, they must have known what was inside the Ust before they warped in, said Tsuyu. But for a group with such careful planning, there's one thing that really sticks out to me, said Izuku. Why send Sue here? This could mean that they don't know what our quirks are, said Elijah. Ribbit. You've got a point. If they knew I was a frog, they would have sent me into that fire zone over there instead of somewhere full of water, said Tsuyu.
They probably separated us because they didn't know what we could do and planned to overpower us once we were in smaller groups, said Izuku.
Divide and conquer, said Elijah. We can use that to our advantage. They don't know what our quirks are, so for all they know, the 3 of us could be super powerful. Look, none of them are trying to climb into the boat. That proves they're a little unsure. But that means they're not going to underestimate us either, said Izuku.
So let's talk quirks. I'll go first if you want.
Obviously, I can jump high and cling to pretty much any wall. And of course there's my tongue, I can stick it out about 20 meters. Oh yeah, and I can spit out my stomach so I can clean it. That's not really useful, finally. I can also secrete a toxic mucus. It just stings a bit, said Tsuyu. Cool, said Elijah. We can probably only use my jumping and my tongue here. Forget about the last thing, said Tsuyu. I figured you were powerful, but that's crazy. I'm strong, but it comes at a price. Once I use it, I'm pretty much out of commission. It's a double-edged sword until I can control it, said Izuku. Well, as for me, wall crawling, camouflage, but it only works for me, spider physiology, and bioelectricity, which I can use for electric webbing, and venom sting. And of course there are my webs, but that won't be useful in water, said Elijah.
I got these sticky balls, said Minta.
Bruh, said Elijah. No, I mean on top of my head. Their strength varies depending on how I'm feeling. They might stick to something a whole day, and they grow back as fast as I pull them off. I'll bleed if I use too many. Oh, and they don't stick to me. I'll just bounce right off them, he said as he took one of them off and placed it on the boat. All four of them just stood there and completely silent, though they couldn't tell it to the mask, but Elijah's face showed no emotion whatsoever, just like Izuku and Tsuyu, making Minta start to whimper. Don't look at me like that. This is why I said we should wait for the real heroes. My quirk is totally unfit for battle and we're going to die, said Minta. No, you have incredible power, really. We just have to figure out how to use it, said Izuku. Just then Elijah's spider sense goes off and turns to see a water hand grows out and smashes the ship as Minta starts to freak out and rapidly throws his balls into water, but then is grabbed by Elijah. Oi Minta cho, he said while slapping him in the face twice.
I'll feel like he's enjoying that, Hugh-Heli-kun looks at Izuku.
Elijah then dropped Minta and saw the villains keeping their distance from the balls.
So Minta, do you think the hero route is right for you? Tsuyu asks.
Shut up. It's weird not to be scared right now. We just got out of junior high a little while ago. I didn't think I'd be facing death a few days after starting UA. I can't believe I'm going to die without ever getting to touch Yaoyorozu's or Bao's boobs. Minta yells.
Like you were ever going to get the chance? Bo would literally roast you, and I'm pretty sure Momo would give you a lecture on why you shouldn't be a perv, said Elijah. Listen up. An enemy that's certain of their victory is bound to make a mistake. All Might said along those lines in a TV interview a while back, said Izuku. Does that even mean? Minta asks, sobbing. Now's our chance, we can beat them, said Izuku. Tell us to play, coach, said Elijah. When I give this signal, jump, said Izuku. I'll do it, but not because you told me to, said Elijah, playfully punching his arm. Izuku then jumped off of the boat, and activated One for All and flicked his finger, which blasted the water with wind pressure, and started to draw in all the villains. Guys now, he yells. Elijah and Tsuyu, who is grabbing Minta, then jump off of the boat. Elijah then fires a web catching Izuku, and they make their escape. Minta went through some of his balls into the water. I'll be damned, said Elijah. If a strong force is applied to the water's surface, the water will be pushed away, and then come rushing right back to the middle. Izuku explains as they then saw the villains being spewed out all stuck together.
We rounded 'em all up, not too shabby, said Tsuyu.
What a hell of a plan. Same goes to you too, Minta, said Elijah.
Huh, I had a good poop this morning, which makes my balls stickier, he said proudly.
And you ruined it, said Elijah as they walk out of the water.
Can't believe we managed to get all of them at once. It took everything I had to keep my composure. It was such a gamble, I didn't think we...
Relax, mate, said Elijah.
He's right. Instead of second-guessing, but we did. Shouldn't we think about our next move? Tsuyu asks.
Yeah, you're totally right. Said Izuku, who then holds his fingers in pain. Are you going to be all right? Elijah asks.
Yeah, Eli-kun. I think we should split up. You use your camouflage to go check on the others, while we go towards the exit and try to get help, said Izuku.
Are you daft? I'm not gone. Think about it. You can sneak past them and help out the others without noticing. They could probably use your help more than we do, said Izuku. Arg. All right, but once I'm done checking on them, I'll go straight back to you guys. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, said Elijah as he activates camouflage and jumps out of the water.
You know, you probably should have told him to go get help since he could have sneak out of here, said Minta.
Not his style, said Izuku. Elijah first went to the area close to him, which was the landslide zone, but notice it was completely frozen over. He sees Todoroki had taken care of the villains and decides to move ahead to the mountain zone. He then sees a couple of villains fighting Momo, Gyro, Denki and decides to give them a hand. He gets behind to the villains and give them a light zap, making them fall over to the confusion of the others. What just happened to? They went night-night, said Elijah, zapping him as well. He then sees Gyro kick Denki into the villains, stunning them. Just as one of the villains punched him in the face and one jumped over him, Elijah then swiftly kicks him and drops his camouflage.
So can anyone join in on this party? Elijah asks.
What did you come from? Gyro asks. The UK, but that's not what you meant, said Elijah, which made her roll her eyes but smiled.
You're making jokes in a situation like this?
Momo asks.
Would you rather I freak out and sob? He asks.
Damn it, Kaminari, you couldn't have asked for some kind of aiming gear. Will you put in your costume request? I mean, come on, said Gyro as a villain was about to drop down, but Elijah webs him to the wall. It's ready. It takes a while to create an object this big, said Momo as from her back forms a giant blanket covering her and Gyro. The hell? That's supposed to be a shield? One of the villains asked.
You're looking at a sheet of insulation 100 mm thick. Go, Kaminari and Hendrix. You might want to get under here too, said Momo.
Without a second to think, he gets under the sheet along with them. Then Elijah hears yells in pain, and then multiple things dropping to the ground. Oh, I get it now. Elijah didn't get a chance to finish the sentence as when he turned around he saw Momo whose breasts exposed. We should probably go. I'm worried about the other, said Momo.
You're looking a little overexposed right now, Gyro comments.
Huh? I can make some new clothes, said, but then saw Elijah who had his head turned and immediately blushes and covered her chest. You didn't see. Kaminari, are you okay? He said quickly, making his way over to him. Elijah noticed the dopey look on his face, while he was also giving a thumbs up which made him bust out laughing and rolling on the ground. Hey Eli, what's so fun? She said, but then noticed his face as well and was trying her best to laugh. Exactly happened to him? Momo asks, which made Elijah get off the ground. His brain probably short-circuited. What's your clothes are all fixed, said Elijah.
So you did see, said Momo, blushing.
Meanwhile, with Baust found herself stuck with Bakugo and Kirishima. She blocked one villain attack, then used her tail to whip him out of a window, then fired off the spikes on her shell to keep another one in place. Little brat, said the villain who tries to escape, but it was futile. Then backs up into Kirishima and Bakugo, who are heavily breathing.
I think that's the last of these guys. Bunch of weaklings, said Bakugo.
All right, let's hurry and find the rest of our class. If the three of us are still in the Asja, then everyone else probably is, too, said Kirishima.
You're right, we got to make sure they're safe. Now that I have the chance to say this, it was really stupid to jump in head first against that villain, said Baust. Yeah, 13 probably could have sucked up that villain, and we wouldn't have been separated. We have to make it up to the other, said Kirishima. If you two want to track everyone down, have fun. But I'm going to destroy that worthy bastard, he said, but is then slapped in the face by Baust. Your physical attacks didn't work on him. Now it's not the time to worry about your bruised ego. Shut up. I'm going to take him down because he's there in and out. If I cut off their escape route, then they'll be stuck here. They have to pay for what they've done. He then grabs an invisible villain and uses his quirk.
Anyway, if all these villains are small fries like these guys were, that our classmates can handle, said Bakugo.
That reaction time was insane, said Kirishima. Compared to Elijah, this guy doesn't know how to stay silent, he said, but then noticed Baust's wide-eyed look. Did you just call Eli-kun by his name and pay him a compliment? Who are you? She asks. Since when did you act so calm and rational? Usually you're more like, die. So what changed? Shut up. I'm always calm and rational, you red-headed loser. As for you, if you so much as tell him, said Bakugo. Don't have to worry about that. I'm not exactly talking to him at the moment, Baust thought to herself. Back with Elijah.
Get your hands up and no quirks, said a villain holding Denki with a gun to his head.
Damn, we didn't even see him coming. I could activate camouflage or with the gun out of his hand, but then... Elijah thought to himself. Kaminari's helpless, said Momo, agitated. Damn villain, said Kyoka. I feel a little brotherhood with other electric types, so I don't want to kill him, but I will if you make mess, said the villain as he showed off a couple of sparks from his hands, which makes all three of them gasp and put their hands up. An electric type. He's probably the one Todoroki said was jamming the communication, said Momo. Huh, don't move a muscle. Let's take this nice and slow. As he walked slowly towards them, still holding Kaminari. You know, you two dudes plus our friend over here are lucky. People with electric type quirks are destined for mainstream success, said Kyoka. Huh? The villain said, confused. Oh, I get it, said Elijah.
I don't. What are you doing?
Momo whispers. I mean, even if you didn't want to be a hero, there are tons of jobs you could do in the city, right? Your kind of quirk is in high demand, said Kyoka. So why become a villain in the first place? Elijah asks. Nice try, said the villain, put his hand closer to Kaminari's face, forcing Kyoka to retract her cords. Think you could distract me that easily? Big mistake, kids. An awesome dumb thug who can be outsmarted. You need to learn how to take hostage situations seriously. So here's the new deal. Either this idiot's going to die or you are. How about that? You can either save his life or your own. What's it going to be, kids? The villain was cut off by being shot in both arms, surprising all three of them. What the crap just happened? Kyoka asks. Is it them? Momo asks. Cheers, love. The cavalry has arrived, said Elijah. Really? Kyoka asks, groaning. It was the perfect time for it, said Elijah. I'm confused. What are you two talking about? Momo asks. Have you never heard of Overwatch? They both ask in unison.
Is that a new TV show? She asks.
The heroes were able to capture all the villains quickly, while all the students made it outside safe, except for Izuku, who was injured. Everyone seems to be unharmed except for that boy whose legs were all messed up, said the detective. Izuku, Elijah thought until he felt a hand on his shoulder and turned to see nothing but gloves and boots, realizing it was Toru. So I heard you were helping out the others. That's really cool, she tells him. Thanks, but a part of me kind of feels bad for not sticking with. I also heard Suyu had to give you mouth to mouth, she whispers. Yeah, you see, I mean, you can tell me all about it later, right? If you still. Yeah, said Elijah, who notices Bowsette walking over to him.
So where did you end up? She asks.
Originally, I was with Izuku, Tsu, and Minta. Izuku and Tsu were really awesome, said Elijah. What about Minta? She asks. He was there, he freaked out, and he also said some about fondling you and Momo's boobs, said Elijah. So potential beatdown, she asks. Possibly, said Elijah. After hearing about the status of Izuku Aizawa and All Might, they all went back to class. After class, Elijah walks to the nurse's office where he sees Bao standing outside the door until she notices him. She was a bit nervous to open the door until Elijah just opened it, revealing Izuku, who was still in bed. Oh, hey guys, he said with a smile on his face. Before Elijah could say anything, Bowsette marched over to Izuku with an angry look on her face. Bo.
How many times are you going to end up here? You gotta stop being so reckless, said, scowling.
I'm pretty sure he got an earful from Recovery Girl, said Elijah.
Oh, I heard about you as well, helping the gyro, Kaminari, and yeah.
Hey Izuku, when I got put through the ringer, I almost drowned, said Elijah.
Yeah, good thing Sue knew mouth to mouth, said Izuku, but then covered his mouth up.
Who did she?
Said Bowsette, smiling while cracking her knuckles. She saved my life. She's cool with my book. Well, I got to go. I'll call you guys later, Elijah as walked out of the nurse's office. Oh-chan, are you going to be okay? He asks. I'll be fine. I shouldn't be mad because I couldn't tell him, said Bowsette with a weak smile.
You never know, things might not work out for them, and he did think you were hot in your costume. Oh crap, I was supposed to say that, said Izuku, but then noticed the happy expression on her face.
You should hurry up and change. I'll wait downstairs, she said, rushing out of the nurse's office and closing it. School was closed the day after the League of Villains attacked the USG. Elijah was just playing on his guitar and writing down lyrics when he heard his phone go off and saw that he got a text message. Koopaheim, do anything right now? Elijah, just working on a new song. Koopaheim, any chance I can hear it? Elijah, when it's finished. Koopaheim BTW, how did that date go? Elijah, pretty good. We were hanging out earlier. Koopaheim, that's good. Before he could reply, he notices his door opening and walks over to close it. But then when he walks over to his bed, he notices his phone is missing.
Though, Mike.
He yells, looking up to see a boy with dyed brown hair wearing a t-shirt and shorts snickering on ceiling. Texting your girlfriend? He asks. Haha, now hand it over, said Elijah. Nah, said, jumping off the ceiling and running out the door. Elijah then chased after him. Mitchell jumped from wall to banister. Elijah followed him downstairs to the kitchen, with nowhere left to run. Nowhere to run, you little shit, said Elijah, moving in slowly, then jumps at him. But then he jumps over him. You lose, said Mitchell, but then noticed the smile on his face. Rachel, said Elijah. Mitchell then is caught by an invisible web, and looks to see a little girl around 5 or 6 with lavender hair tied in pigtails, red pupless monochromatic eyes, wearing a black and gold dress.
No fair, said Mitchell, struggling to get out as Elijah took his phone back.
No stewing, said Rachel as Elijah picked her up. That's right, said Elijah. Get me down, said Mitchell. I think I'll leave that to Mum, said Elijah, walking out of the kitchen. Did Rachel do a good job? She asks. You did, tell you what. I'll give you half of a Pop-Tart, said Elijah. Yay, said Rachel. Next day at UA. Hi. Guys, did you watch the news last night? Toru asks. Nope, said Elijah.
I did, said Ojiro.
It was so cool that we got a few seconds of screen time, though I bet nobody noticed me hanging out in the background, said Toru. If it makes you feel better, I had a mask on the entire time, so nobody saw my face. Elijah smirks.
We're totally big deals. Those news channels love us. We're basically celebrities, said Kaminari.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? Kashima asks. Get over yourselves. The hero course that pumps out pros was attacked, and that's what they cared about, said Gyro. Agreed, said Elijah. Who knows what would have happened to us if the teachers didn't show, said Ciro. Why did you have to go and say that? Just thinking about it makes me want to pee myself, said Mainta, fidgeting.
Aw, shut up! A grow a pair loser! Bakugo yells, scaring Mainta and Midoriya.
Aizawa then came in, face completely covered in bandages and his arms in a sling. Mr. Aizawa, what are you doing here? The class asks in unison. You don't have time to worry about me because your fight is not over yet, said Aizawa. More villains, Elijah thought to himself. The UA Sports Festival is about to start, said Aizawa, causing most of the class to cheer.
Let's go kick some ass,
said Kirishima, but then Kaminari puts a hand on his face. Wait a second, he said. Is it really such a good idea to hold a sports festival so soon after the villain snuck inside? Gyro asks. They could attack once we're all in the same place, said Ojiro. Apparently, the administration thinks this is a good way to show that the threat has been handled and our school is safer than ever. Plus, they're beefing up security compared to past years. This is a huge opportunity for all students at UA. It's not something we can cancel cause a couple of villains, said Aizawa. I'm sorry, but why not? It's just a sports festival, Mainta asks. Huh? Mainta, don't you know how important this competition is? Izuku asks.
Of course I do. I just don't want to get murdered, said Mainta.
Our sports festival is one of the most watched events in the entire world. In the past, everyone obsessed over the Olympic Games, but then quirks started appearing. Now the Olympics has been drastically reduced in terms of scale and viewership. For anyone who cares about competition, there's only one tournament that matters. The UA Sports Festival, said Aizawa. That's right, and top heroes everywhere will be watching. This is where you get scouted, said Yayurazu. Less you're dead, said Mainta. Stiffen that upper lip, Mainta, said Elijah.
He's right, man.
After graduating, a lot of people join pro-hero agencies as a sidekick, said Kaminari. Yeah, but that's as far as some people go. They miss their chance to go indie and stay eternal sidekicks. Actually, that's probably where you're headed. You're kinda dumb, said Gyro, which irritates Kaminari and makes Elijah chuckle. It's true that joining a famous agency can garner experience and popularity. That's why the festival matters. If you want to go pro one day, then this event could open the path for you. Once chance a year, 3 chances in a lifetime. No aspiring hero can afford to miss this festival. That means you better not slack off at your training. Yes, sir, said the class. Class dismissed, said Aizawa. After class, everyone was about to head to lunch, but we're talking about the festival. Elijah had put in his headphones, but then noticed Uraraka looking at him intensely with a smile and immediately took them out. Everything okay? He asks.
Let's do our best in the sports festival, said Uraraka.
Oh, yes, said Elijah, cut off guard.
She even freaked out like Kun joining, said Bowsette, standing right next to Izuku.
Uraraka then started raising her fist and getting everyone involved in it. So we are all eating lunch together, Izuku asks. You know I am. How about you, Eli-kun? Bowsette asks.
Yeah, I haven't hung out with you guys.
Elijah was cut off when he felt something grab his arm and saw a uniform, which made him realize it's Toru.
Want to have lunch together? She asks.
Well as Izuku and B. It's fine. You can go eat with each other, said Izuku, waving his hands around. Why, yeah, we've hang later, said Bowsette nervously. Okay, catch you guys after lunch, said Elijah as he walks off with Toru. At the cafeteria with Bowsette. Bowsette sat at a table with Ida and Uraraka because Izuku went to eat lunch with All Might. It was kind of quiet between all 3 of them until she noticed Uraraka staring at her. What? She asks.
I was just wondering, which one do you have a crush on? She asks, which made her stop eating.
Neither, she exclaims.
So you don't like Deku? She asks.
Of course not. He's like a nerdy brother to me, said Bowsette. Then, what about Hendrix-kun? She asks, which made her cross her arms and look away. All as if I would ever like him. He never shows up on time, worst taste in movies, and he spends most of time on Ember and coming up with terrible music, said Bowsette.
Who's that? Ida asks.
My guitar. Bowsette turns to see Elijah with a tray of food along with Toru. How long were you? Well, excuse me for writing such terrible music, said Elijah as he walked away. Bowsette laid her head on the table in disappointment, but then felt Uraraka patting her on the head. I'm sure he'll get over it, said Uraraka. No, he won't. He really cares for his music, she said depressingly. After lunch, they went back to that class. Their classes were about the same except for one when they noticed a bunch of other students from other classes watching. But Hugo said some things that painted a huge target on their backs. With Elijah. Elijah was running from building to building when suddenly his spider sense goes off and turns to see a shadowy figure behind him who is about to land a punch, but he quickly dodges out of the way and webs them to a wall. "That always catches your brother off guard," said the figure as he got himself free. He then stepped out of the shadows to reveal an African male with wick dreadlocks, numerous piercings, wearing a leather jacket over a torn-up red t-shirt, black checkered pants with stitch marks, and black boots. "Uncle Hobie? What are you doing here?" said Elijah, dabbing up on his uncle. "What? I can't visit my favorite nephew?" he asks. "What about Cain and Michael?" he asks. "Like I said, my favorite nephew," he said, rubbing Elijah's head. "Thought you were on tour," said Elijah. "I am. Just so happened our next concert is here in 2 days. Also, Yua wanted the Prowler guarding a festival with a bunch of other heroists," said Hobie.
So we're both going to be there. Cool. Oh, did you know I was in Yua? Elijah asks.
"How can I not? Your pops woke me up at 3:00 a.m. to tell me all about it. Congrats, how's it been going? I heard about the villain's attack," he said with his hands in his pocket and leaning against the wall. "It's been going good. And I would be lie if I said I wasn't terrified at the time, but I think I handled it pretty well," said Elijah. "How's the music coming along? Don't tell me hero work at you." "PFF Tina, I've been doing both. I've been working on some new songs," said Elijah as he brought out his phone. Few minutes later, Hobie was listening with his headphones, then took him out. "First one's pretty good. I see you sampled some stuff from Rogue. But the second one, I like that one better. Put it out yet?" he asks. "Not yet," said Elijah.
Definitely should, or better yet, play live, said Hobie.
"I need to play at the guitar shop, but that's for a huge audience." "I haven't. Plus, I don't have a band," said Elijah. "Besides those 2 kids you hang out with," he asks. "Izuku can't play an instrument. I'm not speaking to Bowsette at the moment. I guess there's Gyro, but I couldn't ask her," said Elijah. "Well, it just so happens that my deal with Yua was that Lethal did the halftime show. I could have my nephew come up to play one of his songs," Hobie suggests. "Would your band be okay with that?" he asks. "Of course. So what do you say? Ready to join me on stage?" he asks. "It'll be a huge crowd, but then again too huge to pass up. I'm in," said Elijah. "I knew we were related. When you're done training, come practice with us, and by the way, I like the costume. Very punk metal. Have you come up with a name yet?" he asks as he walks towards the ledge of the building. "Not yet. I came down to 2 ideas," said Elijah. "Good. Choose wisely. Your name reflects what kind of hero you're going to be," said Hobie as he got off the ledge. Everyone from Class 1 were all changing into their tracksuits. The boys were all changing into theirs on one side, and the girls were changing into theirs on the other side. Elijah was focused on 2 things, his performance and what his uncle had said to him. Just then, Ida burst through the doors. "Everyone get your game faces on, we're entering the arena," said Ada. "Showtime, I just got to do my best," said Elijah as he stood up from his chair and walked out, but then Bowsette was in front of him. She had a cautious look on her face, but he walked ahead of her until she grabbed his hand.
"Can we ta?" she begins to say, but then he shakes her hand off and continues to walk ahead.
Izuku was right behind her and saw this. He was a bit confused, then noticed the sad expression on her face, which made him worry. "Is everything okay with the 2 of you?" he asks. "Remember how we agreed never to make fun of his music?" she asks, noticing the shocked expression on his face. "He must be giving you the silent treatment," said Izuku. "He's ignored all my calls, never looks at my messages. This is worse than the time I broke his first guitar," she said, getting depressed.
"I wouldn't focus on that now. We got the tournament to think about," he said with a hand on her shoulder.
"You're right. I noticed Todoroki was getting in your face," said Bowsette. "I'll explain that on the way," he said as he walked outside with the others. The whole class left the room as they got introduced to the crowd that filled every seat in the stadium. "I've never seen a crowd this big. I got to focus," Elijah thought to himself. Once the other classes got introduced, they all lined up around the podium where Midnight, a tall, curvaceous woman with sky-blue eyes, which tilted downward in the center, framed by a set of rather long eyelashes. She had long, thick, spiky dark purple hair, which is made up of layers of varying lengths. Her costume was very similar to a dominatrix. She wore a breathless, black leather leotard similar in style to a corset over the chin, skin-tight, white bodysuit, which showed off her voluptuous figure. The center strip of her leotard was embellished with red gemstone in a vertical pattern extending from her collar to a midriff. She also wore translucent black thigh-high garter stockings, which were attached to a burgundy utility belt decorated with gold studs around her hips, a melting belt buckle in the center, and black knee boots. She also wore a small red mask outlining her eyes and handcuffs on her waist. Whoa, so much to tell, Miss Midnight what she's wearing, said Kirishima, blushing. No kidding, that costume should come in a warning, said Kaminari, who was also blushing. You say it like it's a bad thing, said Elijah, whose spider sense then goes off and dodges to the left. He catches what was thrown at him, which seemed like a bit of the dirt. He turns around to look at anyone who is suspicious and sees nothing. And for the student pledge, we have Katsuki Bakugo, said Midnight, causing everyone in Class 1A to look at him.
It's going to cock up, said Elijah, then noticed Gyro next to him.
You think he's going to mess up? She asks. In a way, said Elijah, who noticed he made it to the podium and was at the mic. Just want to say, I'm going to win, said Bakugo. Called it, said Elijah as Bakugo got booed off stage. You weren't kidding, said Gyro. And now we all have a huge target on our back, as if it wasn't big already, said Elijah. Without further ado, it's time for us to get started. This is where you start feeling the pain, the first fateful game of the festival, said Midnight.
Someone should really be wondering why people are here to see high schoolers beat the S out of each other, said Elijah.
Either that or why we're not getting paid for this, said Gyro.
Then a board spinner appeared behind Midnight and stopped at one that said obstacle course. All 11 classes will participate in this treacherous contest. The track is 4 km around the outside of the stadium. I don't want to restrain anyone, at least in this game. As long as you don't leave the course, you're free to do whatever your heart desires. Now take your places, contestants, said Midnight as the crowd cheered. All the contestants started at the gate and waited for the third green light to go out, which was the signal to run. Once it did, everyone took off but couldn't get out because there was no room. This wasn't a problem for Elijah, who shoots the web and flings himself free from the others. He also sees Bowsette, who was inside her shell and using her fire breath to fly while spinning. Elijah then lands on the ground and begins to run where he sees Todoroki right beside him. He's quick, Elijah thought to himself. As they were running, his spider sense goes off, then looks to see Minta about to attack, but is hit in the back by a metal claw, sending him flying. These are the robots from the exam, Elijah thought, but then noticed one in his way. He smiles, then shoots 2 web lines backs up, and slingshots himself over the robots. While he was in the air, he looked back to see Todoroki had frozen the rest of them, but then they began to fall over. Elijah then lands on the ground, thinking that he had to lead until Todoroki caught up to him. You're pretty quick, mate, said Elijah. Todoroki stares at him for a second and goes back to focusing on the race. Elijah looked back to see Bakugo and Bowsette right catching up to them. The part of the race had a bunch of pillars with strings attached. Elijah then web zips through the obstacle with ease with Todoroki still beside him. Bakugo and Bowsette are still catching up to them. They all got to the final obstacle where there seemed to be nothing until they hear an explosion.
Landmine, spider sense. Don't fail me, no, Elijah thought as he cautiously walks through.
He then notices Bakugo and Todoroki fighting amongst themselves while not triggering the explosions. Elijah then saw Bowsette leaning against a gate, taking deep breaths. Before he could go over to her, he sees Izuku coming in on a piece of the robot and gets an idea. He shot a web to the piece, hitching a ride. They pass both Todoroki, Bakugo, and Bowsette. Elijah then waves at Bakugo, which infuriates him.
Deku, what do you think you're doing? He shouts.
Elijah then lets go and begins to run. He then sees Bakugo and Todoroki alongside him. Nope, Elijah thought as he let them pass. Izuku took first place. Bakugo and Todoroki tied for second, Elijah coming in at third, and Bowsette coming in fourth. Elijah then put an arm around Izuku. Way to get the win, said Elijah.
Thanks, said Izuku till he noticed Bowsette coming over.
Way to go, Izuku, and she begins to say, but Elijah then lets go of Izuku and walks away. Eli. It's fine, Izuku said, Bowsette with a sad smile on her face. After everyone got back from the run, Midnight was up on the podium again, showing the scoreboard all the way down to number 42. Only the top 42 will advance to the next round, but don't feel bad. We have prepared other opportunities for you to shine. Now the real fun is about to begin, said Midnight. The board begins to spin, then stops at cavalry battle. Now allow me to explain. The participants will form teams of 2 to 4 people as they see fit. In theory, it's basically the same as a regular playground game. But there is a difference. Each player has been assigned a point value based on the results from the obstacle course, Midnight explains. Reasonable, said Elijah. A board then shows how many points everyone had, with Izuku having 10 million. The point assignments goes up by increments of 5 starting from the bottom. For example, 42nd place is worth 5 points, 44 is worth 10 points, and the point value assigned to the first place winner is worth 10 million points, Midnight explains. Well, now I'm glad I didn't. Why? Oh bollocks, Izuku thought to himself, then noticed Izuku sweating profusely. First years, listen up. These are the rules that you will abide by. The game itself will last 15 minutes. Individual points value will be added together to reach the team's total. Everyone will know how much you're worth thanks to your headbands. Swipe as many headbands as you can to raise your team score. Stolen headbands must be worn from the neck up, so the more you steal, the harder it will be to manage them. Another thing, even if your headband gets stolen or your team falls down, you can keep playing until time's up. This is going to be tough. You may use your quirks as much as you like. But there are still rules. Make a team fall on purpose and I'll slap you with a red card and you'll be disqualified, said Midnight.
I should probably team up with. No, I'm still mad at her so.
You have 15 minutes to build your team. I recommend you get started, said Midnight.
A lot of Class 1A that made it surrounded Bakugo in the attempts of trying to team with him. Elijah then noticed Izuku was by himself, then walked over to him and rested an arm over his shoulder.
Let's kick some tail, said Elijah, then noticed Uraraka walking over. Hey Deku, let's team up, she said.
Hiliko and Uraraka, are you guys sure? Everyone will be after me and my 10 million stupid points. Tell me you guys aren't kidding, Izuku exclaims, teary-eyed.
If we run away the whole time, then we'll win, right? She asks.
She has a point. Besides, I always got your back, said Elijah. Plus, it's better to team up with people you like,
said Uraraka with a wide smile. Did she just confess? Bold move, I really don't believe in the whole team thing, said Elijah. What about you, Deku and Kupa-san? Uraraka asks. I don't believe in consistency, he answers.
I think it's smart to find people you can communicate with smoothly. In fact, Izuku then walked over to Ida, who turned around. Izuku explained his idea to the fullest, however.
It's a good strategy, but I'm sorry. I'm afraid I must refuse your offer. Since this all started, I've been losing to you. Please don't take this as an insult. You're a great friend, but if I continue to follow you, I'll never get stronger. Bakugo answered, the rookie have challenged you already, but they aren't the only one who see you as a rival. He says, turning away and beginning to walk.
I get where he's coming from, Elijah thought to himself.
Midoriya, I'll try my best to defeat you, said Ida, continuing to walk away. I guess there's. Too late, I saw her join up with Rando team. A team of 3 isn't bad, but we could use 2 more, said Elijah. Oh, perfect. Team up with me, person in first place. Elijah then turned around to see a pink-haired girl with a bunch of gadgets up close to Izuku's face, frightening him. And who might you be? Elijah asks cautiously. I'm a student in the support course, name's Mai Hatsum, she exclaims, pulling up her goggles. Oh, you're that weirdo from the obstacle course, said Uraraka. We haven't met, but I'd like to use your current fame to my personal advantage, said Hatsum.
Straightforward and to the point. I like that, said Elijah.
If I team up with you, then I'll be in the spotlight as part of the team that everyone is keeping an eye on. Which means my super cute little babies will inevitably be seen on the big company CEOs who are tuning into the sports festival, and following the line of reasoning, this is the best way for me and my marvelous gadgets to be recruited, said Hatsum, as she kept moving closer to Izuku. We're not exactly in the position to turn down people, and her gadgets could come in handy, said Elijah, but then noticed that the two were geeking out over a jetpack.
Elijah then looked around and saw Tokoyami standing there by himself and walks over to him, but the only person noticing being Uraraka.
Oi, join up with my team, said Elijah. Really? You want me on your team? He asks. Yeah, with that dark shadow of yours, it's like an extra body protecting us. Izuku and Uraraka think all we have to do is survive to win, but with both of our quirks, we could steal some points off of teams without them noticing, said Elijah.
All right, I'm in, said Tokoyami.
Everyone was getting ready, as was Izuku's team.
Everyone ready, Alekon? Izuku asks. Ready? He replies behind Izuku. Uraraka? He asks. Yash replies on the right side. Hatsum? He asks. Yep. She replies on the left. Tokoyami? He asks. Yes replies from the front. Let's do this, said Izuku.
Hendrix-kun, how come you didn't join Hagakir's team? Uraraka asks.
I think she'll understand when I explain. Hopefully, said Elijah, looking away in the distance. Let the cavalry battle begin, said Midnight. Immediately, all the team went after their team, which made Izuku whimper. It's basically one big battle for 1 million points, yelled a student with white hair. Ha ha ha, I'll be taking that headband, Midoriya. No hard feelings, elicited Hagakure. Elijah thought to himself. They're not even giving us a chance, huh? Such is the fate of the pursuit, said Tokoyami. Here they come, said Hatsum. We're running away, said Izuku. Just as they were about to, they found themselves sinking to the ground. Bloody hell, said Elijah, confused as he tried to move.
I can't move, said Yororaka.
I'm stuck, said Tokoyami. Yororaka Hatsumi-kun, watch your faces, said Izuku. The three of them closed their eyes, then Izuku pressed the button to a jetpack, and they blast off into the sky right over the teams. Gyro uses her earphone jack to attack, but Dark Shadow smacks them away. Good work. Please, continue to watch over our blind spots, Dark Shadow said Tokoyami. Got it, it responds. I've got to admit, your Dark Shadow is pretty impressive. If I could, I would salute it, said Elijah.
You're the one who chose me, said Tokoyami.
We're landing, said Yororaka. As they got closer to the ground, the hover boots activated and Yororaka used her quirk to make the landing easy.
So what do you think of my babies? Aren't they precious? Cutest can be manufactured, said Hatsum.
They're ace, Baba said Elijah, causing the others to be confused. Ace is a word for awesome in the UK, and he's right. Your babies are amazing, said Izuku.
Oh, thank you, said Hatsum.
I'm the one who's making us float, said Yororaka, under her breath. Somebody's getting jealous, Elijah thought to himself. Biwahahahaha, this is too easy. It's not a fight, it's more like a massacre, said Mainta, who is hiding on Shoji. You might want to look up what massacre means, said Elijah.
It's Shoji with Mainta, but who else? Izuku asks.
What we need is breathing room, said Tokoyami. Yororaka tries to move, but when a Mainta's balls got stuck to her boots.
Izuku duck, Eljaya yells.
He does as a tongue came from out of nowhere.
Osui is in there as well. Thanks for the warning, said Izuku.
Izuku then pressed the button for the jetpack, and they take off into the air again, breaking off one of Yororaka's boots.
Ah, my baby's Ruline, said Hatsum.
Sara said Izuku. Ooh, incoming dickhead, said Elijah. Izuku then noticed Bakugo behind them. Elijah then shot a web to his face as he was in front of Izuku. Then Dark Shadow shielded them from his explosion as the crowd cheered. By dickhead, said Elijah as they landed. Bakugo begins to fall, but is caught by his teammates.
Sure, Raka, how you holding up? Elijah asks.
It's hard to land right with just one foot, she responds. Right, we can't take the skies anymore, not with a broken boot. We'll have to rely on Dark Shadow, Eli's webs, and my... But before he could finish, he noticed Todoroki's team was in front of them. Glad Kupaheim isn't on their team, said Elijah nervously.
I thought we had it made. Guess I was wrong, said Izuku.
I didn't think this confrontation would happen until later in the contest. He seems to have it out for you, Midoriya said Tokoyami. Game's only halfway over. We can't stop now, said Izuku, noticing Kaminari sparking up and a bunch of other teams headed their way. Dark Shadow covers them, but couldn't protect Elijah, who took a couple of zaps, but surprisingly was okay. I can absorb electricity. Elijah thought to himself. Eli-kun, are you? I'm fine, just found out I can absorb it like a spongy, said Elijah. Izuku tried using the jetpack, but a little bit of that lightning struck it, making it malfunction. Todoroki's team starts to move in fast and quickly catching up to them. Damn, we can't catch a break, said Elijah, frustrated.
Eli-kun, any chance you can fire off electricity? Izuku asks.
Before Elijah could answer, they stopped as they had nowhere left to run with Todoroki's team catching up. They kept trying to freeze them, but they quickly moved out of the way. Then out of nowhere, the million-point headband was taken. They noticed Todoroki's team on the other side with the headband, surprising Midoriya. Let's get those points back, said Yororaka. Kaminari is still a problem. It'll be smarter for us to try for other points, no, said Tokoyami. Agreed, Elijah added. We can't. We don't know who's got the other headbands. This is our only chance, said Izuku. Then let's go, said Yororaka. As their team got closer, Elijah noticed Todoroki about to use his flames, but Izuku used one for all on his eyes to search for the 10 million points. He then raised his arm slowly, but surely as he grabbed a 10 million points from under Todoroki's nose. I got it, said Izuku.
Wow, with 11 seconds left. Team Midoriya, who lost their 10 million points, took it right back. But it's almost time to end it, folks, said Present Mike.
Oh, wait a minute. Please tell me I got something wrong with my eyes, said Hatsune.
He tricked us, said Izuku.
He makes the headbands up. There is no way we'd leave the prize on top. You underestimate us, said Yaoyorozu. With such little time, Team Midoriya charges at them at the same time as Bakugo coming in and doing the same. Elijah then got an idea and quickly fires a web and stole one of the headbands of Bakugo without him noticing. Time's up. With that, second round is officially over, said Present Mike. Just in time, Elijah mumbles. Now, let's take a look at who our top 4 teams are. In first place, Team Todoroki. In second place, Team Bakugo. In third place is Testoot. Wait, what? It's Team Shinso? When did they come back from the dead? Present Mike asks.
Hey Deku. Uraraka asks as she walks over to him.
Guys, I'm really sorry, he said with shadows covering his eyes. You really ain't got nothing to apologize for. If anything, we owe you an apology, said Elijah, which made him look up in confusion. When Todoroki was shaken by your first attack, I tried to grab the 10 million point headband, but things didn't go as planned. Still, I got one that was around his head, where his guard was at the weakest. Tokoyami explained as Dark Shadow had a headband number 615 on it.
And I stole one from Bakugo while he was distracted, which was 300-something, said Elijah.
Midoriya, you're the one who created the opening for both of us and ensured our advancement, said Takoyami, which made Izuku tear up.
And in fourth place, Team Midoriya. These 4 teams will advance to the final round. Now, take an hour lunch break before we start the halftime and afternoon festivities, said Present Mike.
As they all went to get lunch, Elijah and the Izuku were walking together until Bowsette was running up to them. I'll catch you later. Come on, Ile-kun. I'm sure whatever happened between you two you can. I'm not at that point just yet, said Elijah as he walked up to Toru.
Hey you,
she said cheerfully.
So looking forward to what they do for halftime, Elijah asks.
What about you? She asks. Can't tell you, said Elijah. Awa, no fair. She playfully whined and followed it by laughing. With Izuku and Bowsette. I'm sorry, I tried to. I keep telling you, you don't have to do anything for me. You guys did really good, said Bowsette. Whose team were you on? Izuku asks but notices a frustrated look on her face. I was on Team Shinso, but... She began to say but noticed Todoroki coming over. Do you mind if I speak to Midoriya? He asks. Actually, we W. It's fine, Deku. We'll talk when you get back. She assures him with a smile and walks away. Back with Elijah. Elijah was about to grab head to the cafeteria until he saw his uncle and walks over to him. After lunch, stage 2, he said, then walks away. I'll be ready. Spends most of the time with Ember and writing terrible music. I can't let her get to me, said Elijah, tightening his fist. Bowsette Pav. After having lunch, Bowsette and the rest went to the stands. She sits next to Izuku but notices that Elijah was nowhere to be seen. How come Elijah's not here? She asks. Don't know. Hakimir might know, said Izuku, who then sees her next to Ajiro and Gyro.
Hakimir-sen, have you seen Ile-kun? Bowsette asks.
I haven't seen him since lunch, answers.
And now performing the halftime event, please welcome Lethal, said Present Mike.
As the band is shown on the stage, the crowd roars with excitement. Izuku and Bowsette recognized. The stealth hero Prowler, said Izuku in awe. Also Ile-kun's uncle? Bowsette but then noticed most of her classmates looking at her. What? They said in unison. His uncle is Prowler? Kaminari asks. Said Kirishima.
Except UA, said Hobie as he starts playing on his guitar.
He starts playing a low bass line, which the stadium begins to stomp the ground to. There ain't really nothin' that you owe me, okay? When I touch the stage, you can't hold me down. When I get rowdy, you gon' know me, okay? In the fast lane, you can't slow me down. When I speed off. Swing around the city, you might see us. Got me feeling like a man, I'm a phenom. And I don't think they understand I'm feeling free. Ain't no one controlling me now. I know that's something they don't like to see now. You can take a seat, I'll take a lead now. Freedom ain't a thing that comes cheap, but I'd rather pay the fee if I know I won't be. Song Rogue by Dizzy FT Jonald and KBN Crollo. Link down below.
https www.youtube.com/v=4phcf1ai.
Elijah's Pav. He waits till they are down with their first 2 songs, then waits for his uncle.
Thank you, UA. You've been great, but I got a surprise for our last song, said Hobie.
Elijah then takes a deep breath, then starts playing on his guitar as the podium he's on starts to go up, revealing to the crowd.
With Izuku and Bowsette. Izuku and Bowsette were stunned, but then cheered. The rest of the class did the same except for Bakugo, Todoroki, and Ida, who was shocked to see him on stage. Elijah then went to the mic. Yeah, EFF this system. I quit, won't miss it. Rough and wicked. Squandered, the gifted. Lie's been twisted. I'll be the misfit-o. Yeah, I'll be the misfit. Plot's been written. I'll stay unscripted. Fought resistance. Don't want to give in. Got my rhythm. I'll be the misfit-o.
Yeah, I'll be the misfitelligist sings, causing the crowd to cheer. I'll be the misfit be Game Boy Jones and Breton Boy.
Spiderpunk song I'll be the misfit Game Boy Jones Breton Boy Hobie Brown. After he finished, the crowd was cheering. Elijah, Hobie, and the rest of the band got off stage. How'd you think I did? Elijah asks nervously. You hear that? You crushed it, said Hobie, ruffling his nephew's hair, but then here's his phone ringing, seeing Rachnora's name. That would be your mum to curse me out. Pray for me, said Hobie as he walked away. Minutes later, Elijah changed back to his tracksuit and walked out to the field where he was greeted with the sight of all the girls in class 1A wearing cheerleader uniforms with looks of displeasure on their faces. Looks like Class 1A is going full-on fan service, said Present Mike. How did you get roped into this, Gyro? Elijah asks, snickering, but then notices Kaminari and Minta cackling. What? You tricked us? You're going to regret this, Yaoyorozu yells. Well, that answers my quest. He cut himself off when he sees Bowsette wearing one that was a bit snug on her. She then notices him staring at her and turns red and tries to cover herself with her tail. Could you not look over here? She asks sheepishly. Why is it that I always end up falling for that little pervert's stupid schemes? I even use my quirk to make these outfits Yaoyorozu size. Ugh, I hate those guys, said Gyro that she threw the pom-poms to the ground.
Well, we do have a little time before the final start, and I kind of do like these uniforms, so how about we just roll with it, Toru suggests.
Are you crazy? Gyro asks. Always seeing the bright side of things, said Elijah. They were told to choose lots to decide their opponents. Before anyone could choose, Ajiro withdrew from the competition, shocking everyone. A couple of others did as well from that team except for Bowsette. Everyone saw who they were facing, and to Eljaya's surprise, he and Bowsette were going to be facing each other. He then went to sit with the others until he saw Ajiro talking to Bowsette and hid behind a corner.
Why didn't you withdraw, Koopa-chan? You were used to, so why not, asks.
I have my own reasons for not withdrawing. I felt the same way you did, but I'm gonna prove that I should, she answers, gripping her fist. I see, said Ajiro. I also don't want to fall behind Deku, Anile-kun, said Bowsette. Then I wish you luck, said Ajiro as he walked ahead. Elijah then took a deep breath, then walked out of the corner to the surprise of Bowsette. Oh, hey, Eli.
Listen, Bowsy, I've been a Beldick to you. I'm sorry, said Elijah.
No, I should apologize. I know how much your music means to you, still friends? She asks. Of course, but don't think I'm gonna go easy during the match, said Elijah. Wouldn't have any other way, said Bowsette with a toothy grin. They both then went to do different things. Elijah decided to watch the side games, but Bowsette decided to head to the changing area. After that, they end up watching the first match of the tournament, which Izuku wins, the second match which Kaminari lost to the plant girl, and the third match Tenya Ida vs Mei Hatsum, which she won after being used to show off her inventions. Elijah was enjoying the show, but then he noticed Izuku writing and saying things out loud. Bowsette then noticed Uraraka leaving and followed behind her. Elijah then noticed the next match was Mina Ashita vs Yuga Aoyama. Writer's notes. I'm just going to put the Team 4-star version here because it's that quick. Mina melts his belt, which makes his pants fall off, which he quickly picks up. I see London, I see France, I see in the IQ, she said as she uppercutted him. Mina now has my respect, said Elijah.
She didn't before. Speaking of which, I'm surprised the others aren't trying to talk to you after halftime, said Izuku.
I threw in to electrocute most of them. Meanwhile, with Bowsette, she goes into the waiting room where she sees Uraraka sitting at a table by herself until she notices her. You okay? Bowsette asks.
I'm going against Bakugo, so. Not real, said Uraraka, weakly smiling, but then noticed Bowsette sit next to her.
I know how you feel. He can be a jerk, but he can't be beaten. Just because he has a flashy quirk doesn't mean he's invincible. Everyone has a weakness, and I believe you'll find it and make your way to the final, said Bowsette. Right, but what about you? She asks. What are you? Aren't you going against Hendrix-kun? Are you going to be okay fighting the guy you like? She asks, which makes her blush, then sighs in defeat. Everyone but him, honestly. I'm confident I can beat him. Last time it was teams and I was blinded by rage, but this time I know what to expect, said Bowsette. So what do you like him? She asks. Well, that's a bit of a story, and funny enough Bakugo was a part of it. I was surrounded by him and his friends, and he took something that I got from my mom, said Bowsette. Flashback. Give it back, she demanded, trying to reach for it as one of the boys threw it to Bakugo. Tell you what, stop hanging protecting Deku, and I might consider it, said Bakugo. No, she answers, which irritates him. Hey. They all look up to see Elijah, running at them. 3 of his friends got scared and ran away. Tesk, I'm not scared of you, said Bakugo, running towards him. Should be, said Elijah as he jumped onto a tree branch, shot a web onto his foot, then jumped down, which caused him to end up in the tree. Arg, get me down from here, he demanded. Give her back what you stole, and I might consider it, said Elijah. Fine, said Bakugo. Elijah then let go of the web, which caused him to fall to the ground. Bakugo then smirks, then throws the object into the woods as far as he could, then ran off. Tears begin to form on Bao's face. "Cheer up," Bowsette said Elijah. But was this what you were looking for?" Elijah asks. She didn't look up to see Elijah holding a crown in his hand. "How did you get it back?" she asks, grabbing it. "I snagged in midair. It was a gift for your birthday, right?" He answers with a smile which makes the girl blush. "Thank you," Kunj said with a toothy grin. Flashback over. "I doubt that he remembers it, but it meant a lot to me," she says while twirling a lock of her hair. "Have you asked him?" Uraraka asks. "It's not exactly something you can just bring up. But anyway, I came here to cheer you up before your match with Explosive Jerk, not to gossip about Geish answers." "But that's what friends are for, right?" Uraraka asks. "We're friends?" Bowsette asks. Uraraka was stunned until she saw a smirk on Bao's face, which caused both of them to laugh. Just then, Izuku and Ida came through the door.
"Looks like you're in a better mood," said Izuku.
"Well, I'll catch you later, Uraraka," said Bowsette, walking out of the door.
Everyone watched Uraraka and Bakugo, in which he won.
After Kirishima won an arm wrestling contest to advance, leading to the next match, which was Elijah versus Bowsette. Elijah came out to a standing ovation, then Bowsette came out getting cheered as well.
"Midoriya, you've known both of them for a while. Who do you think will win?"
Gyro asks.
That's a tough question. Ilikun's quirk give them all the abilities of a spider, and his electric abilities also give him an edge. But Bo-chan can use her shell as a weapon, and has her fire breath among other things, said Izuku.
Back at the arena, the two were just staring at each other for a while, thinking of strategies on how to take each other out. "Last time we face each other it was inside a building, and I had the advantage. This time it's more open space. My webs won't be very useful in this fight, so I should probably stick to Venom Blast," Elijah thought. "Probably won't be using his webs for this, but still, I can't go flying at him inside my shell cause I might accidentally land outside, so my best chance is to hit him with the fire breath. But then there's that spider sense," Bowsette thought. "Begin," said Midnight. Bowsette moves quickly on the attack, but Elijah sees this coming and jumps over her and sweeps her legs, but instantly recovers. She tries to go for the fire breath, but he quickly moves away. Elijah then tries to go zap her, but she's able to block every chance he tries. He then tries to whip her up, but she easily breaks out of it. "You should know that wasn't going to," Bowsette begins to say, but then notice Elijah running up to her and trying to touch her quickly moves to the left. "I got to find a way to hit up with the Venom Strike, but she's not giving me any openings. Wait, her tail. I just gotta grab that, hit her with the Venom Strike, and it's over," Elijah thought as he rushed at her again. She sees this and tries to scratch him with her nails, but activates camouflage and tries to get behind her. But to surprise, she lands a hit, tearing a piece of his tracksuit. Now he's hiding. The nose said Bowsette as deactivates camouflage.
"Guess that means I'll have to come up with something else," said Elijah.
With Izuku. "I get it. Bo-chan was able to smell him," said Izuku. "Isn't there a way for him to win this?" Toru asks. "If he's able to hit the Venom Strike on her," said Izuku. Back in the arena. "Think it's about time we ended this," Bowsette said Elijah. "Couldn't agree more," she retorts. They both run at each other, but then all of a sudden, Elijah jumps over her and grabs her tail. "Kaya!" Bowsette blurts out. "Huh?" said Elijah in confusion, but is then hit with said tail and crashes into a wall, leading to him being out of bounds.
"The winter is Bowsette," said Midnight, which made the crowd cheer.
With Izuku. "I thought he had that in the bag," said Kirishima. "There's no way Godzilla beat him. I couldn't even beat him," Bakugo thought.
"Deku?" Uraraka asks.
"I don't know. I thought he would have hit her with the Venom Strike right then there," said Izuku. But then noticed on the screen Bao's blushing face.
"I'm going to go check on him," said Toru.
"I'll come with," said Izuku. Later in the infirmary room, Elijah wakes up to see he's laid out on a bed with Recovery Girl on the side. "Oh, you're awake," she said. "How about injuries, Doc?" he asks. "Your head is fine. Be glad that she didn't put you through 2 walls, especially after what you did," said Recovery Girl. "What I do?" he asks. "Tails are a sensitive spot for reptiles, so when you grabbed her tail it was considered a very intimate spot," she explained, but failed to notice the shocked expression on the boy's face. "Bollocks," he said, but then noticed the door slightly open, showing Bowsette with shadows covering her eyes, which made him nervous. She then walked in and was taken back by Elijah prostrating himself on the floor. "Why, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that was." "It's fine. You didn't know after all. I just wish that it didn't end like that." "I really wanted to beat you fair and square," said while crossing her arms. "I think you would have won either way," said Elijah, but then here's the door open to reveal Izuku and Toru. Are you going to be okay? Toru asks. I mean, I'm a bit disappointed I didn't win, but I'll be fine, said Elijah.
I'm surprised, Ilikun. I thought you would have hit her with a venom strike as soon as you grabbed her tail, unless her tail is a very sensitive. Izuku was cut off by Bowsette muffling his mouth.
The important thing is that he's perfectly fine and I'll be advancing, she said nervously.
Fair enough, you know what? We should all do something after the sports festival, said Toru. What do you have in mind? Elijah asks. We can hit up an arcade, Toru suggests. Or karaoke, Bowsette suggests. I like that idea. What's good with that, said Toru. Izuku, you're going against Todoroki next. You ready for that? Elijah asks. I'm going to give it everything I got, said Izuku with a serious look on his face. Let's make the others smile.